Chapter 12:12. In the primordial demon realm, the 13th prince of the heavenly demon realm left and disappeared into the eastern sky. The passage between the two worlds opened, and knowing destiny returned to the realm beyond heaven. In the sky above the three emperors' palace, the faces of the emperors froze when they saw this scene. The 13th prince of the heavenly demon realm was from the realm beyond heaven. Retreat, Tion Xian said sternly. With that order, the sorcerer tribe army immediately beat the gong and retreated quickly. Not far away, the lord of the sacred region and the holy master of the holy capital also stopped fighting and left the battlefield. Above the three emperors' palace, a shocking demonic aura surged. Demon Emperor Kuan descended from the sky and looked at the retreating sovereigns with murderous intent in his eyes. Kuan, you're too late. Not far away, the scaled emperor said in a deep voice. Demon Emperor Kuan turned around and looked at the Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor, who was on the verge of death. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the latter. With a shout, the chaotic demonic aura around Demon Emperor Kuan surged out and entered the Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor's body, protecting the last trace of his life. Xianqi and Azura descended from the sky. Their faces darkened when they saw the tragic scene in front of them. Xianqi, Azura, gather all the 8 tribes and end this war. Demon Emperor Kuan said calmly. Yes. The two accepted the order and left the three emperors' palace. In the 9 underworlds' palace, the demonic flames gradually subsided. Xianjuyo looked at the eastern sky and sighed softly. Master, I'm sorry. An illusory figure in plain clothes appeared in the palace and bowed respectfully. Is this all part of your plan? Xianjuyo said with a sigh. Yes. In the sky, Ning Chen's clone nodded and answered honestly. The 100 tribes have the ambition to invade the realm beyond heaven. For the safety of the human race, I had to strike first and deal a heavy blow to the 100 tribes led by the Sky Demonic Royal Family. You have made me see you in a new light. Xianjuyo sighed softly. In this battle, not only had the Celestial Demonic Royal Family suffered great losses, but the Sorcerer Tribe, Western Sacred Region, Stone Tribe, Scale Tribe, and some royal tribes had also been implicated in this battle. Almost the entire primordial demon realm had suffered great losses. The human tribe of the outer heavens is weak. If the 100 tribes invade, the human tribe will be defeated. For the safety of the human tribe, I have no choice but to do this. I have disappointed you, Master. In the void, Ningchen bowed again and apologized. That's your standpoint. You're not wrong. What's wrong is the human heart that doesn't know how to be satisfied. Xianjuyo looked at the demonic figures in front of the three emperors' palace in the distance and continued. The Queen Mother of the West Seal has been broken and the war between the two worlds is inevitable. Even though the primordial demon realm has suffered a great calamity, its strength is still above that of the humans of the heavens beyond heaven. Now that the 4 immortal realms no longer exist, no one will help the humans anymore. You have to be mentally prepared. Many thanks for Master's reminder. Disciple understands. Ning Chun said respectfully. From today onwards, I hope that we will never meet again. Xianjuyu sighed. Ning Chun fell silent. Since they were on different sides, they would only be enemies if they met again. Perhaps it was better to not meet again. After a long time, Ning Chun bowed respectfully again. Without saying anything else, his figure faded and disappeared. In the heavens beyond heaven, Hongwan Galaxy, Ningchen walked out of the fog and saw the dim Western King hairpin from the corner of his eyes. He frowned slightly. Waving his hand, Ningchen grabbed the Western King hairpin and looked at the passage behind him. A moment later, he turned around and left. The primordial demon realm had suffered great losses in this battle. Even if they wanted to go to war with the human tribe, they would need time to prepare. During this time, he had to make arrangements as soon as possible. 10 days later, at the border between the All-Heaven Galaxy and Luojia Galaxy, a white-clothed figure appeared in the sky above the Reverence Moon ancient ground. With a wave of her hand, she dispersed the grand formation blocking her way and walked into it. At this moment, in the Reverence Moon ancient ground, the Reverence Moon clan's members sensed her presence and looked at the horizon. In front of the altar, a white-haired old woman's body trembled. Her face was filled with excitement. Greetings, High Priestess. After so many years, the familiar face appeared once again. The Reverence Moon Clan's members knelt on the ground to greet the High Priestess. In the void, Ning Chen's figure descended from the sky. Looking at the people in front of him, he smiled and said, "Rise." "Many thanks, High Priestess." Everyone kowtowed and stood up one after another. In the distance, a woman in green stood quietly. She was quiet and elegant as she looked at the young man in front of her. A faint smile flashed across her beautiful face. "Young master." Behind the woman, an excited voice sounded. She couldn't suppress the longing in her voice. In front of the Reverence Moon Clan's members, Ning Chen turned around and looked at the two people in the distance. He smiled and said, "Sister Qing Ning Ruoshi, I trust you have been well since we last met." Just as his voice fell, a fragrant wind assaulted his nose. Before he could react, a warm and tender body fell into his arms and sobbed softly. Ning Chen reached out and gently patted the head of the person in his arms. He smiled and said, "All right, isn't young master back now?" In the distance, Qing Ning walked over with a smile on her face. "Pa." Walking forward, Qing Ning raised her hand and directly knocked the forehead of the person in front of her. There was a dangerous smile in her smile. "You left for so many years without any news. You've really grown wings." Ning Chen heard this and the smile on his face immediately froze. After a moment he smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry for making Sister Qing Ning worry. I left in a hurry and didn't have time to say goodbye. It won't happen again." In Ning Chen's arms, Ruoshi raised her head and looked at the woman beside her. She whispered, "Sister Qing Ning, young master must have been delayed by something important. Please don't scold him." Qing Ning smiled helplessly. It was true that women were extroverted. In this girl's eyes, everything her young master did was right. "Where's Yin? Why don't I see that girl?" Ning Chen glanced around and was puzzled. According to Yiner's personality, she should run faster than anyone when she saw him return. Yiner and Cheng Shui went out. Qing Ning whispered, "It's about time for them to come back." Ning Chen nodded and said, "During the time I was away, did anything major happen in the inner realm and outer realm? Did the powerhouses of the 100 races cause trouble again?" Among the 100 races, except for the scaled race, the others are quite well behaved. However, the scaled race has caused a lot of trouble these days. Qing Ning roughly explained what happened in outer realm over the years, including Yiner being seriously injured by Di Ming Tian, and the scaled king activating the life sacrifice array. Ning Chen listened quietly, murderous intent looming around him. No wonder he felt something wrong with the phoenix body when he was in the primal demon realm. It turned out that so many things happened in outer realm while he was away. How is Yiner now? After listening, Ning Chen was a little worried and asked, "I managed to keep my life, and my cultivation and strength have increased by quite a bit. However, I was too severely injured back then. Although I barely escaped death, it left behind quite a few sequelae, and I still can't fully recover," Qing Ning said in a heavy tone. While the two were talking, a beautiful figure in white appeared in the sky above the Holy Land. Carrying the seriously injured and unconscious in her arms, she rushed into the Holy Land. A familiar aura appeared. In the Holy Land, Ning Chen looked back and narrowed his eyes. "She's back." In the void, Mu Qingxue also felt the familiar aura below. He took a step forward and descended. In the blink of an eye, in the Reverence Moon Holy Ground, the two people looked at each other with calm expressions. Seeing each other again after several decades, there were no tears in their eyes. There was no affection, only a simple nod of greeting. "Yiner is injured, but it's not a big problem. She'll be fine after some rest." Mu Qingxue walked up and sent the girl in his arms out. Ning Chen took the unconscious Yin and said softly, "Many thanks. You've worked hard these years." "It's my duty," Mu Qingxue said calmly. He looked at the two people beside him and nodded in greeting. Then he walked away. Behind him, Qing Ning looked at Mu Qingxue's back, and a trace of pity flashed through her eyes. Mu Qingxue's personality was similar to Ning Chen's. The strength and pride in their bones were not something ordinary people could compare to. In the past, she had chosen to cultivate the great indifference art for the sake of Desolate City, shouldering the glory of Desolate City alone. Since then, her and Ning Chen's path had been bumpy and difficult. Clearly, they had feelings for each other, but it was difficult for them to be together. It was unknown whether fate was playing tricks on them, or they were not fated to be together. Sister Qingning, I'll take in her to treat her injuries first, Ningchen said with a smile on his face. Qingning nodded. I'll go too. Ruoxi volunteered from the side. Ningchen chuckled and said, come. Ruoxi smiled happily, and quickly followed behind Ningchen. In a quiet room in the Holy Land's east wing, Ningchen put down the girl in his arms and said, Little gourd, do me a small favor. As soon as his voice fell, space runes spread out, and the little gourd flew out. Its big eyes looked at the unconscious girl on the bed with a frown. It turned to look at the man behind it and said in a childish voice, Senior Immortal, you have to compensate me. Ningchen smiled and said, okay. Hearing the former's promise, the little gourd turned back with satisfaction. Afraid of the pain, it bit its finger and carefully dripped a drop of blood into the girl's mouth. Done. After it was done, the little gourd flew back and asked for credit. Senior Immortal, don't forget to compensate me. I won't forget. Ningchen nodded. Outside the room, in the courtyard of the guest room next door, a beautiful figure in white stood quietly. Her peerless face was like a fairy that no one dared to blaspheme. In the east, the bright moon rose and the night wind blew, slightly cold. In the room next door, Ningchen stepped out of the room and looked at the bright moon in the sky with a gentle smile on his face. Separated by a wall, the two could feel each other's presence, but neither of them said a word. They just quietly looked at the moon in the sky and cherished this hard-won time. Not far away, Ruoxi looked at the young master in front and curled her lips. I don't know what young master and Miss Mu are thinking. The other is clearly in front of them, but neither of them is willing to say the words in their hearts. It's not that they don't want to say it, it's that they can't say it. Qingning sighed softly. Since you can't promise, it's better not to say it. I don't understand. Ruoxi thought about it and felt a headache. Fortunately, a man returned to Tianji Peak not long ago to pay respects to her master. Otherwise, things here would be more complicated. Chapter 12-13. In the Reverence Moon Ancient Land, a bright moon hung high in the sky. Under the moonlight, an altar was built. On the altar, the moon goddess statue was surrounded by white moonlight, looking holy and pure. In front of him, a white-clothed figure walked over. Below, the Reverence Moon clansman opened up a path and bowed respectfully. In front of the altar, the white-haired old woman bowed respectfully and said, Welcome back, High Priest. Thank you for your hard work, Great Elder. Ningchen stopped and said, It's what I should do. The white-haired old woman said softly. Ningchen nodded and did not say anything else. He walked toward the altar. On the altar, the moon goddess statue shone brighter as if it was welcoming the return of the Reverence Moon High Priest. Below, Ningchen stepped onto the altar. Looking at the dazzling moon goddess statue in front of him, he stopped. Greetings, moon goddess. Ningchen bowed politely. High Priest, you're back. In the void, moonlight gathered and an illusory figure appeared. She was so beautiful that she attracted everyone's attention. Moon goddess, I have another question. Ningchen said with a serious expression. High Priest, please speak. In the void, Moon Goddess said softly. Moon Goddess, do you know about the war between the primordial demon realm and the human race in the ancient times? Ningchen asked seriously. I know a little. Moon Goddess was puzzled and asked. Why do you ask? I want to know, in the ancient times, what was the battle strength of the Emperor Dao realm? How many of them were there in the human race? Ningchen asked. Emperor Dao realm. Moon Goddess murmured and explained patiently. The fourth level of the martial path, also known as what High Priest should know. Mortal realm. Ningchen answered. Moon Goddess nodded and said. Mortal realm. Mortal realm is immortal. This is the new division of the martial path created by the human race after the collapse of the immortal world. There are 3 major realms. The first realm is the easiest to enter. The second realm is the King realm. Anyone who enters the King realm can be called a hero even in the ancient times. As for the third realm, the Emperor Dao realm, one can control the laws of heaven and earth, and can open a small world for one's use. Their strength will be reborn. When the four immortal worlds were still around, the Emperor Dao realm had another name, Immortal Monarch. When Ningchen heard this, his eyes narrowed. He did not interrupt and continued to listen to the former. In the sky, Moon Goddess's eyes flashed with distant memories. She continued. At that time the human race was at its peak. Among the four immortal realms, there were many immortal monarchs. That was the era of the human race. Even gods and Buddhas didn't dare to offend them. Of course, there was one exception. Nether King, 7 Absolute Heavens, Ningchen said slowly. Yes. The moon god nodded and said, the Nether King's power can't be explained with common sense. However, the Nether King is a noble and pure person. He won't easily take action. Since the beginning of time, the number of times the Nether King has descended can be counted on one hand. Other than a few people, not many people know about the existence of the Nether King. According to the moon god, in ancient times, the strength of the primordial demon realm was inferior to that of the human race? Ningchen asked. No. The moon god shook her head. The overall strength of the primordial demon realm was far stronger than that of the human race. Especially the number of king realm experts. It was even more shocking. The 100 races have long lifespans. As long as they lived long enough, it wasn't too difficult for them to enter the king realm. However, it was different for the human race. Due to the lack of lifespans, the human race had far fewer king realm experts than the 100 races. In addition, during that era, the Sky Devil Imperial clan was at its peak. One clan had 10 demon emperors. Adding the emperors of the other imperial clans of the primordial demon realm, there were almost 30 emperors in total. Even the 4 immortal realms felt great pressure. 30 emperors. Hearing this, Ningchen's eyes flashed. What a shocking number. Now there were only 7 emperors of the primordial demon realm in total. This included the 7 luminaries and Kuan Yi, the 2 emperors who had lived since ancient times. 30 emperors. Such a large number of supreme experts had been defeated. It was truly unbelievable. Actually, whether it's the primordial demon realm or the emperors of the human race, there's a huge gap between them and the ancient times. Immortals in the mortal world are ultimately inferior to true immortals, let alone immortals. Without the purification of immortal core power, there's a huge difference in strength. This is also why the primordial demon realm still needs external items to open the seal of the Queen Mother of the West after hundreds of thousands of years. The moon god said calmly. What is immortal core power? Ningchen frowned. Do people of the primordial demon realm also need such things? Immortal core power is a higher level of origin of heaven and earth. The moon god thought for a moment and said, it's like the vital essence of the human race, the demonic essence of the demon race, and the demonic essence of the demon race. After cultivating to a certain level, the speed of accumulation will become extremely slow. If you want to improve, you need external items such as immortal jade. Hearing this, Ningchen's eyes flashed. It was indeed so. If one wanted to continue cultivating after reaching the celestial realm, they needed immortal jade. However, immortal jade couldn't be regenerated. The more they used it, the less they had. This was also the main reason why the human race's cultivators were declining day by day. Whether it's vital essence, or demonic essence, they all have their own limits. If they can't transform into a higher level of origin of heaven and earth, cultivators will forever be stuck. Hundreds of thousands of years have proven that the Emperor Plane is the final limit. The moon god continued. How can one break through this limit? Ningchen asked. In the ancient times, the 4 celestial realms had deification pools. Those who ascended would be reborn in the deification pools. Their vital chi would transform into immortal core power. Although their cultivation level wouldn't change, their strength would be worlds apart. Similarly, the primordial demon realm also had its own methods. Unfortunately, all of these things no longer exist today. The 100 races and the human race have all declined, and their strength has greatly decreased. The only difference is that the 100 races can still rely on their long lifespans and strong bodies to retain part of their strength. The human race, on the other hand, has lost the deification pools. I see. Ningchen's expression turned serious. After thinking for a while, he said, Moon God, in the primordial demon realm, there's a demon Emperor Kuan who has lived since the ancient times. Although his cultivation is the same as the other emperors, the pressure he gives off is completely different. Is he the ascendant that the moon god mentioned? Hearing this, the moon god's expression changed. She said, "That's strange. Is there such a strong cultivator in the primordial demon realm?" Even in the ancient times, that Emperor Supreme had transformed once. If he wanted to seal himself, he had to destroy his own foundation and return to his original celestial realm. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have retained his original strength. I don't know the exact reason, but I'm very sure that the demon Emperor Kuan's strength is far above the other emperors. It's very likely that he's the ascendant that the moon god mentioned, Ningchen said solemnly. The moon god was silent. After a while she said, "If that's the case, you have to be careful. A strong cultivator of this level isn't something you can fight against now. Even if there are other emperors in the human race, if they don't have the combat power of the ancient celestial realm, they won't be able to fight against this demon." Ningchen frowned. This was really troublesome. It turned out that the demon Emperor Kuan had such a background. He had been careless. "High Priest, I can feel that your cultivation is being suppressed by a strong force. What did you see in front of the celestial mirror of mortal world?" The moon god asked seriously. "There was a figure in the celestial gate." Ningchen said truthfully. In the void, the moon god listened to him quietly. She frowned slightly. "The master of the eastern celestial realm. That peerless cultivator who shocked the gods and Buddhas. What you said is unheard of. Perhaps your extraordinary experience caused you to need to go through a tribulation that you've never experienced before to enter the celestial realm of mortal world. However, you don't have to be discouraged. Since it's a tribulation, there must be a way to go through it. It's just that you haven't found it yet." The moon god comforted him. "I understand." Ningchen nodded and said, "I have the secret method of the Phoenix clan and the power of fate. It can temporarily make up for the lack of cultivation. As for recovering my cultivation, I'll find another way." "I'm relieved that you think this way. High Priest, there's a limit to everything. Don't force yourself too much. You've overdrawn too much of your energy. It's time to let it go," the moon god advised again. A faint smile appeared on Ningchen's face. He said, "I'll let it go when it's time. Now is not the time." Hearing this, the moon god sighed softly and said, "I know you have your own persistence. However, in this era, there's no master of the eastern celestial realm who can turn the tide. In the war between the primordial demon realm and the human race has less than a 10% chance of winning. You have to be mentally prepared." Ningchen smiled and said, "It all depends on the effort. If we give up now, we won't even have a 10% chance of winning." At the same time, in the unknown celestial realm beyond the endless starry sky, a withered old man stood on a mountain peak. He looked at the human world, and a light flashed in his eyes. What was to come had come. It was good. The war between the primordial demon realm and the human race was unavoidable. If it could be completely resolved in this era, it might not be a bad thing. Behind the old man, on a wheelchair, a young girl with bright eyes and white teeth sat. Her cold eyes were peaceful. He had returned. Did it mean that the war between the two realms was about to begin? The future master of the celestial realm. Were you really the only choice in the world? As the master had said? "Peacock, it's time for the two of you to meet," the old man said in a hoarse voice. "Yes." Peacock nodded from the wheelchair and said, "However, master, don't get your hopes up. I don't like him. Similarly, he won't like me. This is your destiny. You can't hide from it," the old man said softly. Peacock was born. It's been like this for generations. You are destined to assist this child in this life. You have no choice. Peacock was silent. After a moment she said, "I will fulfill my responsibilities as a peacock. As for things beyond my responsibilities, I will not compromise." The old man did not try to persuade her. He looked at the starry sky in front of him and said in a hoarse voice, "Go. Perhaps after you meet him, you will change your mind." Peacock nodded and did not stay any longer. She turned her wheelchair and walked down the mountain. Not long after Peacock left, a young man in white walked over and said, "Master, you were looking for me?" Chapter 12:14. At the peak of the unknown godly realm, the current master of the godly realm stood quietly. His withered face showed the ruthlessness of time. He had bitterly endured for thousands of years. Even though he was the sovereign of the human clan, he was gradually reaching the end of his life. Behind him, a young man in white walked over. He looked at the elder and bowed respectfully. "Master, how long have you been on the mountain?" the elder asked. 300 years, young Master Xiaobai replied softly. "It's time to go down," the elder said hoarsely. Hearing that, young Master Xiaobai said seriously, "Peacock has left. If I leave too, you will be the only one left in the immortal realm. Can I wait for Peacock to come back before going down?" "No need," the elder said calmly. "I'm not so weak that I need someone to take care of me. You have your own responsibilities. Leave now." Young Master Xiaobai was silent. After a long while he bowed respectfully and said, "Yes, Master. Please take care of yourself. When the demons are over, I will come back to serve you." After that, young Master Xiaobai didn't say anything else. He turned around and walked down the mountain. After the two left, the immortal realm was silent. Only the elder was left. It was lonely and cold. No one could feel any warmth. On the peak, the elder looked at the world quietly. He didn't look away for even a moment. At the same time, in the primordial demon realm, Demon Emperor Kun Yi returned. The situation changed quickly. Except for the heavenly demons, all the heavenly demons woke up. With Azura the god of war as the leader, the heavenly demons fought in all directions and defeated the four races. The rebellion of the scaled race had greatly damaged the Demon Slayer alliance. Among the four sovereign races, the stone race was removed from the list due to the death of Emperor Stone. The other three sovereign races had to be wary of the scaled race when facing the heavenly demon royal race. For a moment, the situation was very unfavorable. In the sorcerer race in the north, Tian Xian stood on the altar in the center. He looked at the eastern continent and sighed. The 13th prince of the heavenly demons had come silently like a shooting star. When he left a dazzling light in the world. As of now, the three royal families had no chance of winning. The return of the first demon emperor had changed too much. Not only did they have the battle prowess of the imperial plane, but they also had the overall situation. Previously, they had already won the battle against the demons. It was also because of this that many of the sovereign clans of the 100 clans had secretly sent out cultivators to help the sovereign clans deal with the celestial demonic imperial clan together. No one could stop them from killing the demons. But now, the celestial demon imperial race had recovered, and with 2 of the 5 sovereign races dead, their strength was greatly reduced. It would be difficult for them to even protect themselves, let alone eliminate the celestial demon imperial race. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for the 100 races to continue standing against the celestial demonic royal family. The world's demon-slaying situation had been broken. On that day, the 13th prince of the heavenly demon realm left in such a carefree manner, without the slightest bit of reluctance. A human from the outland heavens had actually caused the vitality of the primeval demon realm to be greatly damaged. Now that he thought about it, such a scheming mind was truly terrifying. On the central altar, Heaven Heart was deep in thought. Suddenly, there was a stuffy groan and blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth, dyeing his clothes red. In the battle of the 3 imperial cities, Heaven Heart had used a forbidden technique, and his lifespan had been completely overdrawn. He had only relied on the powerful life force of an Emperor Dao sovereign to survive until today, and he was no longer at his peak. In the void, demonic chi surged and an illusory figure walked out. Unparalleled demonic might shook the heavens and the earth. The first demon emperor appeared. It was just a clone, but it gave off an unparalleled and terrifying pressure. The earth-shattering Emperor Dao far surpassed that of an ordinary Emperor Dao. When the emperor appeared, he did not say anything. He raised his right palm, and an earth-shattering palm shot out. The first demon emperor showed the strength of a lord among immortals. His palm was earth-shattering and destructive. On the central altar, Heaven Heart focused and did not dare to be careless. He waved his hand, and the clouds in the sky changed. Purple chi surged from all directions of the central altar, and the fate of the sorcerer race condensed. With the help of fate, Heavenheart met the first demon emperor's attack head-on. Boom! The palms collided, and the heavens and the earth fell. Around the central altar, thousands of altars collapsed, unable to withstand the aftershocks of the two's attack. After the palm, the fate on the central altar dissipated. Heavenheart took a few steps back, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The difference was so obvious that even fate could not make up for it. The first demon emperor showed his strength with one palm. Within 100 steps, they looked at each other. One was cold, and the other was unyielding. The atmosphere was so heavy that it was hard to breathe. After a long while, the first demon emperor's figure disappeared, and he did not attack again. From the beginning to the end, the two did not say a word. However, when their eyes met, everything was clear. Retreat. On the central altar, Heavenheart said in a heavy tone. In the northern battlefield of the primordial demon realm, in front of the sorcerer race army, the 12 sorcerer queens were shocked when they heard the sorcerer emperor's order. Almost at the same time, the divine capital mountain and the western sacred region gave the order to retreat. The world-slaying demon situation had ended the moment the first demon emperor awakened all his power and recovered his ancient peak combat power. In the sorcerer race's sacred land in the sky beyond heaven, Ningchen and the moon god talked for a long time in front of the moon god statue, and his understanding of the human race and the primordial demon realm increased. One last question. What's the difference between immortals and gods? Ningchen asked seriously. Gods are beliefs, the moon god said softly. Like me, I was born from the beliefs of humans. I condensed a physical body and became extraordinary. Immortals are the peak of human cultivation, especially the immortal lords and the masters of the 4 celestial realms. Their strength is even more shocking, and they can be compared to gods and Buddhas. Hearing this, Ningchen fell silent. So, gods were really created by the beliefs of humans. What about Pluto? Ningchen asked. He's different. The moon god sighed and said, 7Ju Sky is a true god. He was not created by the beliefs of thousands of races. Since ancient times, no one has been able to get close to his realm. What about the master of the eastern celestial realm? Ningchen frowned. The moon god was silent. After a while, she shook her head and said, the master of the eastern celestial realm may be the person closest to 7Ju Sky, but he should still be slightly weaker. Of course, this is only my understanding. After all, these two have never officially fought. The master of the eastern celestial realm was the strongest expert in the history of the human race. If there was an enemy, it could only be the Pluto who surpassed everything. I understand. Many thanks for the moon god's explanation. Ningchen bowed. In the void, the moon god nodded lightly. Her figure gradually turned illusory. After a few breaths, she turned into moonlight and disappeared. Outside the Reverence Moon holy ground, in the endless starry sky, a young girl in a wheelchair slowly arrived. The current generation's peacock had officially descended to the world. Inside the holy ground, Ningchen felt something. He looked at the horizon and narrowed his eyes. It's her? When the scaled race invaded the inner world, this woman had appeared. Although he didn't know her origin, he was very sure that he didn't like her. It was an instinctive rejection. Even he couldn't explain why. Inside and outside the holy ground, the two of them looked at each other. Not counting the time when they passed each other in the inner world, this was the first time they officially met. The hostility in their eyes couldn't be concealed. Chapter 12:15. At the Reverence Moon holy ground, Peacock descended. Her beauty was unparalleled, but there was a trace of indifference on her face. Divine Realm Peacock, the goddess born from the heavens, had just arrived in the mortal world. On the holy ground's altar, Ningchen looked at the woman descending from the sky with a solemn expression. As Peacock descended, she slowly moved her wheelchair towards the altar in front of everyone's eyes. Below the altar, the white-haired old woman narrowed her eyes. This woman's origin was extraordinary. Such a pure and holy aura. Other than a god, it was almost impossible for a human to emit such a pure and holy aura. The wheelchair turned, leaving 2 faint traces in the ground. The Reverence Moon clan's people involuntarily stepped aside, unable to stop Peacock from moving forward. Below the altar, the white-haired old woman's pupils constricted. She looked back at the high priest on the altar, waiting for his order. "It's fine, let her come over," Ning Chen said calmly. The white-haired old woman nodded slightly at Ning Chen's words. She didn't say anything and stepped aside. The wheelchair moved forward at a steady pace. It didn't take long for the wheelchair to reach the altar. The 2 people who were destined to meet officially met. "My name is Peacock from the Divine Realm," Peacock said softly from the wheelchair. Her tone was calm, without the slightest fluctuation of emotion. It wasn't arrogance or contempt. It was just the attitude between 2 people who didn't know each other. There was no need to curry favor with the other. "Ning Chen from the inner world." On the altar, Ning Chen replied, "By Master's order, I'm here to assist you in resisting the primal devil realm." Without any pretense, Peacock stated her purpose in coming. Ning Chen's eyes narrowed. "Why are Miss Peacock and your master so sure that I can resist the primal devil realm?" On the opposite side, Peacock didn't answer. This kind of question was meaningless and she didn't need to answer. On the altar, Ning Chen didn't wait any longer and continued. "Let's change the question, why me? Miss Peacock's master should be that human race's sovereign realm expert. Why do you need to rely on others to resist the primal devil realm?" "Because you're the future master of the divine realm," Peacock answered. Ning Chen frowned and said indifferently, "Miss' answer is not satisfactory." Peacock looked at the former quietly. After a while, she said calmly, "The duty of an immortal state cultivator is to protect the human world. This is the same as your wish. Don't you want to protect those around you? As long as you become the master of the immortal state, you will have enough power to protect those you cherish." When Ning Chen heard this, his eyes narrowed as he said, "If the godly state is really as powerful as what you said, why didn't the godly state take action to suppress the Devil Palace when they caused trouble earlier? The human world is plagued by disasters. The immortal state cultivators can't do everything by themselves, unless there is a catastrophe like the primordial demon realm. Otherwise, the immortal state cultivators will not interfere with the affairs of the human world." Peacock said honestly. "Since the God realm knows about the existence of the primordial demon realm, why don't you stop it from being born?" Ning Chen asked coldly. "The appearance of the demonic land is unavoidable. We can stop it once, but we can't stop it a second time. The immortal state is not omniscient and omnipotent. Since the demonic calamity is going to descend upon the human realm sooner or later, it is better for it to appear while Master is still alive than after his death." Peacock said calmly. "How many human emperors are there?" Ning Chen asked in a low voice. "Both of you," Peacock replied. Ning Chen's heart sank when he heard this. "Only 2? That's too few. The upheaval of the world will affect the human race, much more than the 100 races of the demon realm. Master and that lord don't have much lifespan left, so the demonic calamity must be suppressed in this era," Peacock explained. "I have something to discuss with your master or another human emperor," Ning Chen said in a low voice. "I can't make the decision on this matter." Peacock shook her head and said, "I have left the immortal state and can't go back easily. As for that lord, other than my master, no one knows where he is." "So the only reinforcement sent by the immortal state is you?" Ning Chen sneered. "That's right for now," Peacock nodded. While the 2 were talking, several beautiful figures stood quietly in the distance, looking at the altar with different expressions. "Sister Qing Ning, who is that girl?" Ruoshi asked. She didn't know why, but she always felt a sense of fear towards the girl in the wheelchair. It was a feeling she didn't like. "I'm not sure." Qing Ning shook her head gently and said, "Judging from her aura, her origin is not ordinary, but she shouldn't be hostile." "Immortal state," Mu Qingxue said faintly. Qing Ning frowned and said, "Qingxue, are you saying that she's not human?" "At least, she's not a pure human." Mu Qingxue nodded and said softly. Qing Ning's eyes narrowed. If that's the case, then the origin of this girl is even more shocking. In front of the altar, Peacock felt the gaze from afar and looked over. After a while she said, Marquis Jiming, if you want to protect them, you have to accept the arrangement of the immortal state. This is not a threat, it's the mandate of heaven. Just like how I can't go against Peacock's mandate of heaven, I have to come and help you. Mandate of heaven. If I believe in mandate of heaven, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today. Ningchen said faintly, I will fight against the demon realm, but I won't accept anyone's arrangement, even if it's the mandate of heaven. A boy with character, I like it. Before he finished his words, the wind and clouds in the sky changed and a green light shone. An earth-shattering pressure shook the world. Emperor Realm Supreme? Ningchen sensed something. He looked at the sky and his expression turned serious. On the altar, Peacock's eyes were also filled with surprise. That lord is here. Under the two's gaze, a figure in a linen robe descended from the sky. He was holding a long staff with the words Divine Fortune Teller hanging on it. It was so eye-catching. Linen robes and a green robe, the appearance of a fortune teller was shocking. If it wasn't for the Emperor Realm aura, no one would believe that the person in front of them was an Emperor Realm Supreme. Greetings, Lord. Peacock bowed and said respectfully. Peacock. Hee, the little girl back then has become so beautiful. The fortune teller stepped forward and said with a smile. On the altar, Ningchen walked down and bowed politely. Junior Ningchen greets Senior. Forget about the greeting. The fortune teller dodged as if he had been provoked. His face was full of misfortune as he spat out. This old Taoist is still alive and well. Little brat, don't curse me to die early. Senior, you must be joking. I don't mean that. Ningchen stood up and said with a smile. If I believe you, then I've lived for so many years in vain. The fortune teller said with a fake smile. Boy, I've already told your fortune before I came. You're destined to be a jinx. There are at least 80 people who have been cursed to death by you. I don't want to follow in their footsteps. Chapter 12:16. In the Reverence Moon Holy Ground, the human race's Emperor Tao appeared. The fortune teller's attire was neither fish nor fowl. In front of the altar, Ningchen looked at the fortune teller and exchanged a few pleasantries. A helpless smile appeared on his face. Kid, that old man from the God realm said that you are the hope of the human race, so this old Taoist came to take a look. But from the looks of it, other than your evil fate, there is nothing special about you. The fortune teller sized up the young man in front of him and said bluntly, Junior has only met the God realm master once. I wonder why that senior would give such an evaluation. Maybe he was just joking. Senior doesn't need to take it seriously. Ningchen said calmly. Heh. The fortune teller smiled faintly and said, that old man never jokes. If he says you are the hope of the human race, then you must be. No need to be humble. Ningchen smiled and did not continue on this topic. The hope of the human race had never been him, and he had no right to decide the fate of others. Have you been to the primal devil realm? The fortune teller asked. Yes, I have. Ningchen nodded and said honestly, the 100 races competition was an eye-opener. What do you think are the chances of the human race winning against the primal devil realm? The fortune teller asked directly. Less than 10%. Ningchen said bluntly. At the side on the wheelchair, Peacock frowned slightly. Only 10%? Little girl, what do you think? The fortune teller looked at the woman on the wheelchair and asked. I estimated that the human race would have a 30% chance. But the Jiming Marquis has been to the primal devil realm and knows the situation there the best. Maybe I was too optimistic. Peacock replied. Optimism is not a bad thing. The fortune teller smiled and said. The most terrifying thing about the primal devil realm is not the number of emperors, but the strength of the whole group. As long as this situation is not changed, the human race will always be at a disadvantage. Therefore, the growth of your generation is the most important thing. On the wheelchair, Peacock fell silent. The human race's lifespan was limited. This was a natural flaw. It was not easy to fight against the 100 races. There are 7 Emperor Realm sovereigns in the primal devil realm. Among them, the strongest is Demon Emperor Kuan-Yi, who has lived since the ancient times. His strength is terrifying. How to stop him is the key to the human race's victory. Ningchen added. Kuan-Yi? The fortune teller narrowed his eyes and said. So he is still alive. Senior knows this person? Ningchen asked seriously. In ancient times, he was one of the 10 demons. Although he was ranked last, none of the demons that walked out of the devil pool were weak. His strength was enough to fight against human immortal lords, Xiangshi said in a low voice. There are still survivors among the 10 demons. Didn't the 10 demons all die in that battle? Peacock frowned. Those who witnessed the ancient war have all passed away. No one knows if the 10 devils have all died in the war. Even if there are survivors, it wouldn't be strange, Ningchen said calmly. The fortune teller nodded. His gaze shifted to the girls in the distance as a smile appeared on his face. What beautiful girls. Brat, your luck with women isn't bad. Family. Ningchen simply said 2 words and did not refute. The fortune teller looked at them quietly. After a long while, he shifted his gaze to the young man in front of him. His expression became serious. Brat, you have seen the strength of the kings and emperor realm sovereigns in the primal devil realm. You should know that they won't be of any help if they stay here. Once the war breaks out, even you won't be able to do anything, let alone protect them. Let me give you a piece of advice. Ningchen heard this and fell silent. He did not refute. We are not a burden. At this moment, a cute voice sounded in their ears. Not far away, a girl in an emerald green dress appeared. She looked at the fortune teller and said angrily. Seeing her, the fortune teller's eyes flashed. Not a bad girl. On the wheelchair, Peacock's expression changed slightly. Phoenix? Ina, don't be rude. Ningchen reprimanded and waved his hand. Come and greet Senior and Miss Peacock. Hearing the former's reprimand, Ina obediently went forward and bowed respectfully. Greetings, Senior and Miss Peacock. The fortune teller calmed himself down and revealed a smile that he thought was the kindest. Little girl, do you want to have an invincible master? From now on, you can do whatever you want in the world. Hearing this, Ina looked warily at the middle-aged man who looked like a fraud in front of her. She shook her head vigorously and said, No. Peacock saw this and could not help but chuckle. In that instant, the ice melted and blossomed into the most beautiful smile. It was intoxicating. Peacock knew a little about this girl called Yin. She was the only disciple of Marquis Jiming, and had inherited the origin of a heaven speaker. Her talent was not bad. However, what was unexpected was that Marquis Jiming even gave her the origin of the phoenix. Seeing the different expressions of the 3, Ningchen smiled faintly. Senior, you are late by 100 years. This girl has already been taken in by me. The fortune teller sighed regretfully and shook his head helplessly. What a pity. What a good seed. While the 4 were talking, suddenly the sky shook. In the distant red phoenix galaxy, demonic chi surged and a terrifying aura spread out. Shocking demonic chi shocked the world. This is... In front of the altar, Ningchen felt something and his expression changed. Heavenly Devil War God, Azura. How could it be so fast? In front of him, the fortune teller and Peacock also felt the shocking demonic chi in the distant sky. Their expressions changed. This demonic chi was almost comparable to an emperor's path. The war is about to begin. Ningchen came back to his senses and sighed. Not necessarily. The fortune teller looked into the distance and said seriously. Someone promised to guard the human race for 10 years. I think that as long as he is here, even an emperor's path expert will have to pay a heavy price to come out. Hearing this, Ningchen frowned. Who is it? Other than Senior and the Master of the God Realm, are there any other Emperor's Path experts in the human race? It's not an Emperor's Path expert and you know him, the fortune teller said calmly. In the Red Phoenix Galaxy, demonic chi surged in the boundless galaxy. The heavenly devil war god was about to appear. The demonic chi that shook the world was so terrifying that it made people tremble. Even across the boundless galaxy, people could feel it clearly. At this moment, a figure in an azure robe walked out of the galaxy. He was handsome and his eyes were sharp. His steps were neither fast nor slow, and he had the temperament of a master. When the legend appeared, the mist opened. In front of the passage between the 2 realms, the king stopped and put down the sword on his back, waiting for the heavenly devil war god to come out. Soon, a demonic shadow appeared in the space passage. A figure in black armor appeared. His demonic chi shook the stars in the sky. The heavenly devil war god. And the legend of the great Xia met for the first time. In front of the passage between the two realms, Azura walked out. He looked at the swordsman in azure robes in front of him and narrowed his eyes. The human race wasn't as weak as he had thought. Swordsman, your name? Azura said in a deep voice. Xia Yan. Prince Yan held two swords with both hands and slowly pulled them out. He said calmly, Azure and red dual swords, please enlighten me. His opponent was extraordinary, so Azura didn't dare to be careless. He clenched his right hand, and a black spear appeared in the surging demonic chi. The demonic weapon fire beacon appeared, and its demonic chi swept across the 9 heavens. Without saying anything, Azura moved, and his demonic chi broke through the sky. In an instant, the demonic weapon and the imperial sword clashed, and the sound of battle resounded through millions of miles. When the king started the battle, in the distant Jinxi city, in the Xiaoyu Chang, and restaurant, the owner of the Xiaoyu Tower stopped what she was doing and said, Hongwuan. As soon as she said this, the door was pushed open. A woman with a veil over her face walked in and bowed respectfully. Tower Master. Ask Xia Zi and Miss Luo to come here. The owner of the Xiaoyu Tower said calmly. Yes. Hongwuan accepted the order and walked out of the room. On the second floor in the Yu room, a black-clothed, white-haired demonic cultivator was healing with his eyes closed. Not far away, Luo Fei stood quietly, looking at the woman in front of her. Her eyes were filled with tenderness. In the past 100 years, they had experienced too much. Humans and demons were no longer important. Now she finally understood the words of the Jiming Marquis. In life, the relationship between a man and a woman wasn't the only thing. It was already a gift from the heavens that they could walk together until today. Knock knock. Outside the room, there was a knock on the door and Hongwuan's voice sounded. Young Master Xia, Miss Luo, the Tower Master invites you in. In the room, Xia Zi, who was healing, opened his eyes and said, Thank you, I understand. As soon as he finished speaking, Xia Zi withdrew his aura and walked forward. On the side, Luo Fei followed, as if nothing had changed in the past 100 years. In the Ming room, the two walked in. In the room, the Dawn Moon Tower Master, who was wearing a silver-gray cloak, was waiting quietly. After seeing the two enter, she said, The Jiming Marquis is back. Then, the room became abnormally quiet. After a long time, Xia Zi cupped his fists and said calmly, Thank you for your hospitality, Tower Master. Luo Fei and I will take our leave. The Dawn Moon Tower Master nodded and didn't stay. Send my regards to the Jiming Marquis. If he has time, invite him to the Dawn Moon restaurant. I will pass on your words. Xia Zi responded, then turned around and left. At the same time, in the heavenly Yu sacred city, purple aura soared into the sky. Among the purple aura waves, a purple-clothed young figure walked out with an unconcealable arrogance. Damn you, I finally broke through, haha. In the heavenly Yu sacred city, the young man's arrogant and despotic voice kept reverberating. The people of the sacred city didn't find it strange and ignored him, continuing with their own business. What's with the noise? Not far away, the 7th divine general of the heavenly Yu sacred city walked over and angrily reprimanded. Seeing the woman walking over, Luo Xingqian immediately became well-behaved. Even though his current strength had surpassed the former, the shadow of the past still existed, and he didn't dare to refute. The city lord wants to see you. Follow me. The 7th divine general said coldly. The city lord wants to see me? Hearing this, Luo Xingqian was astonished. He eagerly ran forward and said with a fawning smile, 7th sister is getting more and more beautiful. Get lost. Chapter 12-17. Sky Transcendence Sacred City, City Lord's Mansion. Blue and white flowers floated in the air. Everywhere was a dazzling blue flame. The scene was mesmerizing. In a small pavilion in the West Garden, an old man with white hair and a white beard sat quietly. His eyes were filled with wisdom. Sky Transcendence City Lord, a rare wise man. He had lived for thousands of years and had seen through the world. Outside the pavilion, the 7th godly general of the sacred city brought Luo Xingqian over. He stopped in front of the pavilion and bowed respectfully. City Lord Luo Xingchen is here. You can leave first. Sky Transcendence City Lord said. Yes. The seventh godly general gave a warning look to the young man beside him. He then turned and left. Within the small pavilion, Luo Xingchen stepped forward. His arrogant and domineering expression disappeared as he respectfully bowed. Greetings, City Lord. Sit. Sky Transcendence City Lord smiled. Thank you, City Lord. Luo Xingchen looked around cautiously. When he felt that there was no ambush, he walked forward and sat down. How many years have you been here? Sky Transcendence City Lord smiled. 40 years. Luo Xingchen said honestly. 40 years. You've grown a lot. Sky Transcendence City Lord said softly. With those monstrous friends, Luo Xingchen doesn't dare to stay. Otherwise, the next one to die would be me. Luo Xingchen smiled. It's your fortune to have a friend like the ninth disciple of the Mahis sect. You have to cherish it. Sky Transcendence City Lord reminded. I know. Luo Xingchen nodded and smiled. Now the space passage between the primordial demon realm and the heavens beyond heaven has opened. The war will come soon. Your friends need your strength. Since you've broken through, you should leave. Sky Transcendence City Lord said calmly. Luo Xingchen was silent. After a while, he stood up and bowed respectfully. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. Xingchen can't thank you enough. Sky Transcendence City Lord calmly accepted the bow and said, when the demonic calamity is over, don't forget to come back and visit me and your seventh sister. Of course. Luo Xingchen nodded. City Lord, we'll meet again. After saying that, Luo Xingchen suppressed the reluctance in his heart and turned to leave. He's gone. Come out. Not long after Luo Xingchen left, the Sky Eclipse City Lord looked at the viridescent flower tree and asked. Behind the blue and white flower tree, the seventh divine general of Tianyu walked out. A faint sadness flashed across his handsome face. He has his own responsibilities. Just wait patiently. He will come back in the end. The Sky Pass City Lord sighed. The seventh divine general nodded slightly and replied softly. At the same time, in the all-heaven starfield's Buddhist nation's Mount Meru Holy Land, a woman in a pink dress was sitting quietly in the Mount Meru Holy Land. Her body was glowing with Buddhist light. She was the Messiah Wisdom King with a kind and dignified expression. On the sacred ground, tens of thousands of white-robed novice monks closed their eyes and chanted sutras. Endless power of faith flew towards the faraway Mountain of Wishes. On the Mountain of Wishes, Buddha's light shone, illuminating the mortal world. Under the leadership of King Aaron, the rebuilt Buddhist kingdom had not only regained its former glory, but it was even more prosperous than before. With the opening of the ancient battlefield, Buddha Nation's fourth realm cultivators appeared one after another to assist the current Buddha Lord and restore the Buddha Nation's glory. Ai Ranming Monarch. In the faraway Mountain of Wishes, golden light gathered and a solemn statue of a revered one appeared. On the sacred ground, a woman sitting quietly opened her eyes and looked at the faraway Mountain of Wishes. She said calmly, Buddha. King Aaron, have you decided? The Buddha said. Yes. King Aaron nodded. Do you know the result of this trip? The Buddha sighed. Yes. King Aaron replied softly. Since you have decided, I won't persuade you anymore. You may go. The Buddha said. Thank you, Buddha. King Aaron nodded and slowly got up. She walked down the Buddha mountain step by step. The Bodhisattva entered the mortal world. With every step she took, the murderous intent around her intensified. King Aaron of the Avicii Hell walked forward. Spirit Void Star Region, Phoenix Cry City. Inside the palace, a handsome figure dressed in men's clothing stood quietly with the Phoenix Cry ancient sword in hand. She looked in the direction of the Red Phoenix Star Region, and stood there for several days. Behind her, a beautiful woman looked at King Qi in front of her silently. She knew that King Qi was about to leave. 3 days later, King Qi Lin Yuzhen left with her sword in front of the palace. She was peerless and heroic. Reverence Moon Holy Ground. Ningchen had been standing quietly in front of the altar for several days. After the battle started, the battle intent in his heart could no longer be concealed. The fortune teller had left for several days. He had seen the knowing destiny Marquis with his own eyes. He left behind a few words of prophecy and left. Yin only gave the fortune teller 2 words for his prophecy. Unreliable swindler. No one knew if the fortune teller heard Yin's comment, but when the fortune teller left, he staggered in the air and almost fell to the ground. Peacock stayed in the holy ground. Ningchen didn't hate this woman from the god realm, but he didn't have a good impression of her either. Similarly, Peacock didn't have a good impression of the knowing destiny Marquis. Strangely, after a few days, Peacock got along well with Qing Ning, Ruoxi, and the others. At least, their relationship was much better than her relationship with Ningchen. Do you like him? In the holy ground, Peacock looked at the white-haired figure in front of the altar and asked. I don't know. Mu Qingxue gently shook his head and answered. Like the 9 nether sky-devouring demon scripture, both are listed as taboo in the god realm. You chose to cultivate this art and cut off all your escape routes. Do you regret it? Peacock calmly asked. No. Mu Qingxue softly responded. This is the path she chose. Since she chose it, she won't regret it. Resentment, separation, unrequited love. There's too much sorrow between you two. Why don't you let it go? Peacock softly said. Miss Peacock is a saintess of the god realm. Why do you lower yourself to come to his side? Mu Qingxue turned back and asked. This is my responsibility. Peacock's expression became serious and replied. I was born at the right time. My master said that the knowing destiny Marquis is the hope of humanity in this era, and my mission is to help him achieve his goal. Do you like him? Mu Qingxue's tone was calm. No. Peacock faintly said. And he won't like me either. Mu Qingxue nodded and didn't say anything more. Peacock didn't ask any more questions. After a long time she sighed softly. You all are a bunch of weirdos. Same to you. Mu Qingxue calmly replied. 2 days later, above the Reverence Moon ancient ground, a snow-white ancient sword whistled through the air. His old friend had yet to arrive, but his sword Qi was already there. He's finally here. In front of the altar, a faint smile appeared on Ningchen's face. He had been waiting for a long time. A few breaths later, a person arrived on a sword from the horizon. His white cloak fluttered in the wind, like an immortal banished from the moon. Heroic and extraordinary. Below him, Ningchen pointed his fingers and sword Qi surged around him, turning into a torrent of swords that soared into the sky. After several decades, his old friend greeted him with a sword, his momentum shaking the heavens. In the sky, Mu Qianshang's eyes were filled with boundless battle intent. His right hand grasped the air, and the snow-white sword flew over. The moment he grasped the sword, he slashed out. Rumble. 2 swords clashed, shaking heaven and earth. Endless waves of sword Qi rushed out in all directions, shaking the stars in the sky. In the distance, a strange light flashed across Peacock's eyes as she watched the battle. An amazing swordsman, in terms of sword attainment, he wasn't inferior to the knowing destiny Marquis. Wang. While the two were clashing with their swords, another sword chime sounded in the sky on the other side. It was like crying and crying, piercing one's heart. In the next moment, a blue sword light tore through the void. The green borer sword appeared and shook off the 2 swords clashing. When the green borer sword appeared, a purple-red figure walked out from the void. It was the 4th crown prince of the Mizar dynasty. With 1 sword, Xuanmiao calmed 10,000 swords. The 2 appeared at the same time. In the sky, the sword will of the 3 peerless swordsmen rose, splitting the night sky. Long time no see. How are you? Ningchen looked at the 2 in the void and smiled. Green borer reverse rainbow. In the sky, Xuanmiao held his sword and rushed down with a step. When the green borer sword arrived, the world was mournful. Ningchen focused and pointed his fingers. With a clang, he stopped the sword that was close to him. After 40 years, you've become stronger. It seems that I still have to wait to avenge my father. Xuanmiao put away his sword and said calmly, Brother Xuanmiao, you've also improved a lot. It's only a matter of time before you reach the immortal king realm. Ningchen smiled. After 40 years, his friends had finally taken that crucial step. Their strength had increased by leaps and bounds. The opening of the ancient battlefield had replenished part of the origin of the world. The strongest human cultivators had already started to step into the 4th level. In time, these human cultivators would step into the king realm. The revival of the human race would truly begin. Buddha is merciful. At this moment, rain fell from the sky above the sacred ground. Holy Buddhist power poured down, reviving the withered trees in the spring. In the void, the pink girl who descended from the sky was like a bodhisattva who saved the world, making people look askance at her. Ai Ran had descended to repay the favor of protecting the path, and the responsibility of the Yama king of the territory. So everyone is here. At this moment, a phoenix chime sounded in the sky. A handsome figure descended from the retreating phoenix. He was elegant like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of everyone. King Chi had appeared. There was another Yama king. The 10 palaces would appear to quell the demons. Friends appeared one after another. The smile on Ning Chen's face became more gentle. He looked at the sky, waiting for the last few friends. Not long after, black feathers fell from the sky. The purest devil aura swept through the world. 2 figures walked out from the black devil chi. The man in the lead was dressed in black robes and had white hair. He didn't smile at all. Xia Zi and Luofei appeared at the same time. They descended from the sky and stood quietly at the side. All the Yama kings had arrived. Only one person was left. Ning Chen looked at the sky and smiled. You're the only one left. Why aren't you showing yourself? As soon as his words fell, a loud laugh came from the sky above the Reverence Moon holy ground. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of arrows paved the way. The scene was extremely luxurious and dazzling. Of course, the important person should appear last. As he spoke, a young man in purple robes walked out from the path of arrows. He descended from the sky step by step. Luo Xingqian, the last Yama king of the 10 palaces, had returned to the world. Everyone's here. Ning Chen's gaze swept over everyone present. He smiled and said, Jiming thanks everyone. The war is about to begin. The 10 palaces of hell will appear again. Chapter 12:18. In the Reverence Moon holy ground, the human race's geniuses appeared one after another. After more than 40 years, the 10 Yama kings had gathered once again. In the past, the demonic palace had wreaked havoc, and the underworld had appeared. Now that the demonic tribulation had begun once again, the Yama kings of the 10 palaces had reunited for the future of the human race. In front of the altar, tens of thousands of moon-worshipping tribesmen stared at the group of human experts standing in front of the high priestess. In the distance, on the wheelchair, Peacock's eyes also flashed with surprise. This Marquis Jiming's rallying power was indeed shocking. The news of his return had just spread and so many masters came to help. Miss Peacock, let's go. Mu Qingxue calmly said from the side. Soon after, he strode forward. Peacock nodded and turned her wheelchair to follow. In front of the Holy Land's altar, Ning Chen looked at the gathered crowd with a faint smile on his face. With a flip of his right hand, streams of light flew out. The Yama ghost mask flew towards the human experts. These are your ghostly faces. From today onwards, you shall once again assume the responsibilities of a King Yanluo. As he spoke, Luo Xingqian, Lin Yuzhen, Mu Qianshang, Ineri Xuanmiao, Ai Ran Mingwang, Xia Zi, and Luo Fei flew over and landed in their hands. In the 6th palace, the mask of the evil face Yama appeared in Ning Chen's hand. The ferocious ghost face made people shiver. The 9 halls were complete, but the 6th hall that once belonged to Sword 2 was never taken over. It was empty forever. Luo Xingqian, Mu Qianshang, and Xia Zi were silent. They were very clear that their close friends who had once entrusted their lives to them would never return. Lin Yuzhen, Aaron Mingwang, and the others sensed the change in the atmosphere and realized the reason. They sighed inwardly but did not say anything. Not only Jian Er, but even Qi Yanxia had died in the last demonic tribulation. Her soul had returned to heaven and earth, never to return again. As long as there was war, casualties were inevitable. The only thing they could do was to live well, to live without caring about anything else. Cheng Shui, I'll leave the impermanence ghost form to you. Ning Chen suppressed the sadness in his heart and waved his hand. A white ghost mask flew out and landed in the woman's hand. N. Mu Qingxue lightly nodded and accepted the responsibility of an impermanence. At the side, Peacock looked at the evil face masks in everyone's hands and squinted her eyes. These evil face masks were extraordinary and seemed to be able to conceal one's aura. How strange! The sixth palace, King Biancheng Palace, is in charge of the bottom of the sea, the northwest fertile stone, and the great hell. I am indispensable. Give me this position. Not far away, Qing Ning strode over and said calmly. When Ningchen heard this, his body trembled slightly, and a rare hesitation appeared in his eyes. Not far away, Mu Qingxue, Xiaozi, and the others didn't say anything. Qing Ning's position in the hearts of knowing destiny state was unparalleled. The purpose of the gathering of Yama kings was to resist the coming demonic tribulation, so the danger was imaginable. Qing Ning stepped forward and looked at the white-haired young man. She smiled and said, "Don't worry, nothing will happen." "You have to keep your promise," Ningchen said softly. And Qing Ning nodded and took the evil face mask. The aura around her gradually disappeared. 10 palaces, 10 human race experts, and all Yama kings were present. Ningchen looked at everyone in front of him and said calmly, "There are 10 years before the primal devil realm's invasion. These 10 years are extremely important to us. Therefore, from today onwards, I will completely seal the Reverence Moon holy ground. In these 10 years, everyone must throw away all unnecessary thoughts and focus on refining your martial skills." "Spar? I like it." Among the 10 people, Luo Xingchen's eyes lit up with joy. "It's not just a spar, there's also a battle of life and death," Ningchen said solemnly. "Among us there are many people with similar strength. If we can't force them to use their full strength in a one-on-one battle, then 2 against 1, or even 3 against 1. As long as we can force out everyone's potential, I won't use any unscrupulous means. Everyone should be mentally prepared." "You're ruthless." Hearing Ningchen's words, Luo Xingchen's joy was immediately reduced by half. "What Ji Ming said is right, we don't have much time. If we don't use extreme methods, we won't be able to contend against the King Realm experts of the Primal Devil Realm, or even Emperor Realm venerables," Luo Fei said solemnly. "Before this, Miss Cheng Shui Zi and the Dawn Moon Institute's master have personally witnessed the strength of a Primal Devil Realm king. It's not something we can deal with right now. Therefore, as long as we can increase our strength, we must try extreme methods." "Since that's the case, I accept." Among the 10 Yama kings, Mu Qianshang was the first to speak calmly. After Mu Qianshang spoke, Prince Qi, Prince Ai ran, and the others nodded in agreement. Since everyone had spoken, Ningchen did not delay any longer. A strange light shone from his body, and in an instant, the Reverence Moon holy ground's moonlight shone brightly. The divine restriction's brilliance spread out rapidly, sealing off the entire holy ground. In front of the altar, everyone looked at the divine restriction's brilliance in the sky with solemn expressions. The Jiming Marquis attainments in divine restriction were becoming more and more shocking. "I'll be the first one." Sitting on the wheelchair, Peacock spoke calmly. "The Primal Devil Realm's martial skills are different from the human race's martial skills. Similarly, none of you have seen my martial skills before. I am the most suitable opponent." Ningchen pondered for a moment hearing Peacock's words, then nodded slightly. His gaze fell on Luo Xingchen and he said, "Brother Xingchen, you're the first." Luo Xingchen was indignant at Ningchen's words. "Why me? Do you have a problem with me?" "I don't have a problem, but I do have a suggestion. Do you want to hear it?" Ningchen smiled. "Tell me," Luo Xingchen asked suspiciously. "Among us, your long-range attacks are the biggest threat, but your close combat strength is terrible. If you really encounter a battle where you can't increase your distance, what will you do?" Ningchen asked solemnly. "Run," Luo Xingchen answered without hesitation. On the side, Mu Qianshang silently took 2 steps away, feeling ashamed to be associated with Luo Xingchen. Prince Qi and the others smiled kindly. The friends of the Jiming Marquis were really unique. "What if you can't run?" Ningchen said calmly. "For example, if your opponent is Qingxue, how are you going to run?" Luo Xingchen subconsciously looked at the Lady of Barren City not far away, and suddenly felt a headache coming on. That was true. if he encountered an expert like Mu Qingxue who was good at speed, he wouldn't even have the chance to escape. So, your most important cultivation goal is to learn how to survive in close combat. Ning Chen said seriously, when you fight with Miss Peacock, you can use a bow and arrow, but you can't go more than 300 feet away. As long as you can last for 15 minutes, you pass. 15 minutes? Luo Xingqian had heard of it before, and his face was filled with disdain. Jiming Marquis, you're looking down on me. Ning Chen smiled and didn't say anything. Although he wasn't sure of Peacock's strength, it shouldn't be a problem for her to fight Luo Xingqian who didn't have any close combat ability. The battle was about to begin, and the crowd retreated to give space for the two. Luo Xingqian swaggered forward with the most arrogant expression in the world. It made people want to go up and beat him up. Please. Peacock moved her wheelchair forward and said calmly. Miss Peacock, don't blame me for bullying you. It's all because of Jiming Marquis. I have to show my strength. Luo Xingqian showed his gentlemanly demeanor with a smile. It's okay, you can go all out. Peacock said calmly. Watch out. After saying that, the star mark bow appeared in Luo Xingqian's hand, and its dazzling brilliance lit up the world. A range of 300 feet was not an advantage for Luo Xingqian who was good at long-range attacks. However, it wasn't easy to defend against the bow and arrow when the distance was shortened. The first arrow was a test arrow. Luo Xingqian pulled the bow back a little, and a green flowing light broke through the air. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, the arrow had reached Peacock. When the arrow reached her body, Peacock raised her right hand and caught the arrow directly, and said calmly, There's no need to test me. Just go all out. On the opposite side, Luo Xingqian's expression froze. He had underestimated this lady. She was able to catch his arrow with her bare hands. Her reaction was extraordinary. Since his opponent was extraordinary, Luo Xingqian didn't hold back anymore. He took a step forward, and his body soared into the sky. The star mark bow was fully drawn, and the mighty arrow swept out in all directions. 40 years of hard work had finally shown its sharpness. Everyone focused and looked at the shocking arrow radiance in the void. They were silently considering whether they could take it. Under everyone's gaze, the dazzling green arrow radiance swept out from the void. Its earth-shattering power pierced through time and space, and reached Peacock in an instant. At the moment of crisis, Peacock raised her hand, and the five-colored divine light appeared again. The divine arrow radiance quickly dissipated and disappeared. The shocking scene happened so fast that no one could react. Everyone present couldn't hide the shock on their faces, and no one could understand what had happened. In the void, Luo Xingqian's expression turned solemn. He took a step forward, and his body was like an illusion. In the next moment, the sky was filled with arrow radiance, and it was like a rain of arrows. On the wheelchair, Peacock's expression didn't change. Her body was as still as a mountain, and she quietly waited for the arrows to reach her. The arrows shot out, and Luo Xingqian stopped in the void. He looked down with full concentration. However, at this moment, a scene that shocked everyone happened. The moment the arrows pierced through the void, the five-colored divine light spread out from Peacock's body. Wherever the divine light reached, the arrows quickly dissipated without any ripples. After defending for 3 consecutive moves, Peacock was done with the etiquette. She no longer held back, and her body disappeared along with her wheelchair. She instantly appeared in the void. Her slender hand slapped out. It seemed casual, but it had the power to fight against the heavens. The powerful palm hit Luo Xingqian's left shoulder directly. When the palm hit, Luo Xingqian punched out. With the support of his genuine qi, he blocked the attack. In an instant, the shocking scene appeared again. When the two's fist and palm hit each other, the genuine qi on Luo Xingqian's fist dissipated, and 90% of its power dissipated. Bang! Her slender hand fell, shaking off the obstruction, and slapped on Luo Xingqian's shoulder. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Luo Xingqian's body fell to the ground. One move, just one move. Peacock's first move defeated Luo Xingqian, and it shocked everyone present. Not far away, Ning Chen stepped forward and helped Luo Xingqian up from the ground. He asked calmly, "How is it?" "Papa." Luo Xingqian stood up awkwardly and spat out a few mouthfuls of dirt. He looked at the lady in the wheelchair in front of him and said indignantly, "Monster." Chapter 12:19. In the Reverence Moon Ancient Ground, Luo Xingqian suffered a crushing defeat in the first battle between Peacock and Xingqian, shocking everyone present. Peacock's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations. Her five-colored divine light was impenetrable. Who will fight the second battle? Ningchen looked at the people behind him and asked, "Let me." Mu Qianshang stepped out and said calmly. The swordsman stepped out and the battle began again. Everyone gathered their thoughts and focused on the battle. Mu Qianshang, hold on a little longer, don't lose too badly. Luo Xingqian stepped out of the battle and kindly advised, "I'm not you, I won't lose in one move." Mu Qianshang responded indifferently, his words were laced with sarcasm. Luo Xingqian was enraged by Mu Qianshang's words. He wanted to retort but he couldn't find the words. "Watch the battle carefully," Ningchen reminded from the side. Luo Xingqian suppressed the fire in his heart, gritting his teeth as he looked at the two enemies in front of him, no longer speaking. In the battle, the two stood facing each other. Moments later, a snow-colored sword light flew out from Mu Qianshang's hand. The sword light was extremely fast, piercing through the void as it flew towards the woman in front of him. Smoke rose, sword chi like frost. The swordsman's attack stunned everyone. At the front, Peacock focused, raising her slender hand. Five-colored divine light rose, blocking the sword chi. Outside the battle, Ning Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. Peacock's cultivation technique reminded him of someone. Fan Lingyue. In the past, Fan Lingyue's martial art had a similar effect, absolute defense, impenetrable by all attacks. However, Fan Lingyue's martial art was self-created. It was different from Peacock's cultivation technique. In the battle, the five-colored divine light once again emitted a shocking power. The sword chi dissipated, unable to shake Peacock even a little bit. Mu Qianshang stepped out, his figure leaping out. The snow-colored sword pierced through the air. The sharpness of the divine weapon was extremely dazzling. Close combat was even more dangerous. The sword was close at hand, and its changes were unpredictable. Peacock's body was enshrouded in a divine light, eliminating the sword chi. Every move she made could withstand the divine weapon's sharpness. After exchanging more than a dozen moves, the sound of metal clanging echoed in the air. At the beginning of the battle, the five-colored divine light suppressed the swordsman's moves, taking the initiative. After 20 moves, a flaw appeared in Mu Qianshang's moves. The five-colored divine light broke through the swordsman's defense, and his palm landed on the former's chest. Mu Qianshang retreated a few steps before stabilizing himself after 10 steps. The blood and qi in his body churned violently. Victory and defeat had already been decided, so there was no need to continue fighting. Mu Qianshang withdrew his sword intent and politely bowed, saying, "Many thanks to Miss for showing mercy." On the wheelchair, Peacock returned the greeting and said calmly, "You did not use your full strength, otherwise, I would not have won within 20 moves. This is a sparring match, not a life-and-death battle. Miss Peacock is indeed more skilled. This one is sincerely convinced." Mu Qianshang waved his hand to keep his sword as he replied, "The five-colored divine light can defeat all techniques and shake the world's divine weapons. However, there is a limit to it. Now, I can only fight against ordinary king realm cultivators. So if you really want to fight against the kings of the 100 tribes, you must be fully prepared." Peacock turned around and looked at the crowd with a serious expression. Outside the battle, Aaron Mingwang and the others fell into deep thought. The previous two battles had given them quite a shock. Peacock, who had not entered the king realm, had defeated 2 kings of hell. If they were to meet the kings of the 100 tribes in the future, the result could be imagined. "Jiming Marquis, is it your turn for the next battle?" When everyone was silent, Peacock looked at the plain-clothed young man not far away and said calmly, "Sparring is not my forte. However, Miss Peacock's strength is amazing. This one would really like to see a few moves." As he spoke, Ningchen stepped forward. He clenched his right hand and the Ghost Clan's sacred weapon, the 6 paths of reincarnation, appeared. "Please." As he spoke, Ningchen's sword pressure swept out. His sword light rose, and the heaven and earth bore witness. The only thing above was the extreme realm. In the third battle, Ji Mingwang fought against Peacock for the first time. As the battle was about to begin, Peacock's expression turned serious. She knew that this battle was different from the previous two. Among them, the one with the highest cultivation was someone else, but the one with the most power was undoubtedly Ji Ming Marquis. The fact that Ji Mingwang was the leader of the 10 Halls of Hell was enough to explain everything. As the battle began, the plain-clothed figure flashed by. There was no true essence, only absolute physical strength. The 6 paths of reincarnation slashed down and split the void. The bright black light was shocking. As the blade approached, Peacock's body burst out with 5-colored light. She faced the Ghost Clan's sacred weapon with her palm. With a boom, the palm, the sword, and the head clashed. The ghost sword was as heavy as a mountain. Under Peacock, the wheelchair sank into the ground and cracks spread out. In the first move, Ji Mingwang had the advantage in strength. I can't feel any true qi from Ji Ming Marquis. What happened? Outside the battle, Yixuan Miao looked at the battle ahead and asked. There was an accident when he was trying to reach the 4th level. His power is temporarily sealed. Beside him, Qing Ning explained. Hearing this, everyone's expression turned serious. But it wasn't a bad thing to lose power when facing Peacock. The battle ahead was even more peerless. The power of the 5-colored light was earth-shattering. Around Peacock, the ground cracked and rose into the sky. The laws were reversed. The earth rose and the sky fell. Ha! The earth-shattering palm strike shocked everyone. The vigorous palm force roared and rushed out, attacking the knowing destiny state cultivators in front of him. Ningchen didn't dodge the palm strike that was close at hand. He formed a seal with his left hand. On the ground, a strange light rose and a stone wall rose, blocking the shocking palm strike. Outside the battle, everyone was stunned. What kind of move was this? Sorcery? In the battle between Peacock and Ji Mingwang, the battle was dangerous. The 5-colored light was both offensive and defensive. At this moment, it was difficult for Ji Mingwang to gain the upper hand. Ji Mingwang, who had lost his power and only relied on his physical strength to fight, showed a secret skill that no one had ever seen before. He controlled the ground and blocked the first wave of attack. After a round of attack and defense, the outcome was still undecided. Ningchen took half a step forward and changed his sword momentum. His sword moved like lightning, suppressing Ji Mingwang. Peacock's expression darkened. She shouted and the 5-colored light was pushed to the limit. Suddenly, a huge shadow of a peacock appeared in the void. The peacock opened its tail, and the light shone. In the battle, Ningchen felt the pressure around him increase, and his sword momentum was severely restrained. The moment his sword momentum slowed down, Peacock gathered vital qi in her right hand and slapped out, forcing the person in front of her to retreat. 3 steps away, Ningchen stopped. He waved his hand and put away his sword. He smiled and said, Miss Peacock, your power is indeed extraordinary. I lost this battle. Peacock frowned and looked at the young man in front of her. She didn't say anything. She didn't know if it was an illusion or something else, but she wasn't confident that she could win the battle just now. The outcome was decided. Ningchen stepped out of the battle and returned to Qing Ning's side. Can you win? Qing Ning asked softly. Only the two of them could hear her. Yes. Ningchen nodded lightly. That's good. Qing Ning put down her sword and didn't ask any more questions. Ina, you're up next. Ningchen looked at the girl who was hiding on the other side and said lightly. Ah. Ina's face turned bitter. She was afraid that she would be called. The 5-colored light was too strange. It was invulnerable. She was good at manipulating the power of heaven and earth. How was she going to fight this battle? Under everyone's gaze, Ina walked forward slowly. She looked at the woman in the wheelchair and bowed politely. Although you're a junior, this is a martial arts competition. I won't hold back. I think your master called you out to let you know your shortcomings. In the next battle, I'll give it my all. Peacock said seriously. Sister Peacock, please enlighten me. Ina replied with a bitter face. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged around her as she protected herself first. Previously, Qingxue and Man specially trained Ina's combat ability. Although there were some gains, she's still a distance away from a real expert. Now that you're back, you'll teach her personally. Remember, it's different now. The invasion of the primordial demon realm is imminent. You can't split your attention to protect her. Therefore, during this period, you can't let her throw tantrums like before. Yes, I understand. Ningchen nodded and agreed. As the two of them talked, Peacock and Yin began their battle. One was invulnerable, while the other was able to manipulate heaven and earth. Spear and shield clashed with each other. The first move was the wind of heaven and earth. Amidst the raging waves, lightning descended. The heavenly language shocked the heavens and earth. Below the lightning, Peacock's body was as still as a mountain. The five-colored light shone brightly and turned into the power of lightning. After losing power in one move, Yin gathered the power of heaven and earth again. The next moment, the space in front of her distorted and Peacock appeared in front of her. The earth-shattering palm had shocking power. Yin was shocked. In a hurry, she immediately moved the power of heaven and earth in front of her to block the attack. The unstoppable palm force directly broke through the obstruction of the power of heaven and earth. An inch before Yin, the palm force stopped and did not move forward. Under the five-colored light, all techniques yield. In the previous 3 battles, you should be able to see that since I'm attacking, I'm using the five-colored light. Heaven and earth can't stop me at all. You have a sword. Why don't you use it? Peacock looked at the girl in front of her and scolded her softly. Hearing the scolding, Yin's eyes flashed with panic. She didn't know how to answer. She has too little battle experience. In a panic, she makes a mistake. Miss Peacock, please don't take offense. While speaking, Mu Qingxue walked forward and took the red sword from Yin. He looked at the immortal state saintess and said calmly, I'll take the next battle. Yin, go back to your master and watch carefully. Yes. Yin answered obediently and walked out of the battle quickly. Beside Ningchen, Qingning looked at the girl in white in the battle and sighed. Now, it seemed that she needed to remind Qingxue more than Ningchen. She didn't expect Qingxue to be more protective than Yin. Miss Peacock's scolding wasn't wrong. It was for Yin's good. Yin had been spoiled all these years and needed someone to teach her a lesson. Master. Yin came back and apologized. Watch the battle carefully. Ningchen didn't scold her. He looked at the battle that was about to start and said calmly. Chapter 12:20. On the Reverence Moon Holy Ground's sacrificial altar, Mu Qingxue entered the battle in the 5th formation. Heaven and earth's speed increased, and a 5-colored divine light flashed. The battle had yet to begin, but the atmosphere had already become heavy, so heavy that people did not dare to breathe. Suddenly, a gust of wind rose, a person moved, and a sword slashed out. Extremely fast person, extremely fast sword. Eyes could not see clearly, and divine sense could not capture it. By the time they regained their senses, the sword was already in front of them, surpassing the limits of time and space, shocking everyone. Peacock Divine Focus released the 5-colored divine light around her in advance, suppressing Mu Qingxue's speed. However, the heavenly book was not a mortal martial art, surpassing the laws. Even the 5-colored divine light could not completely suppress it. Even with 30% of her speed being suppressed, her speed was still unparalleled. In the blink of an eye, her white robe was like lightning, and her swift sword was deadly. Peacock Divine Focus's hands formed a 5-colored divine light, blocking wave after wave of attacks. Her slender hands were protected by the divine light, and swords could hardly harm them. In a battle of ultimate martial arts, heaven and earth's speed and divine light collided endlessly, representing the confrontation between the 2 pinnacle martial arts. After exchanging 10 moves, the battle reached a stalemate. The invincible 5-colored divine light lost its ability to suppress for the first time. Outside the battle, the spectators' expressions were solemn, not daring to shift their gazes away, fearing that they would miss a single moment. The battle between the two was too fast, and if one was not careful, the outcome would be decided. Beside Yin, a strange light flickered in Ningchen's eyes. Qingshue's talent was the best he had ever seen. In the past, when the divine continent's laws were suppressed, it was extremely difficult to enter the Xiantian realm. At that time, Qingshui was the first person to break through the restrictions of heaven and earth. One could imagine her talent. Everyone in the Desolation City cultivated the sword, except for Qing Shui. However, even if she did not walk the path of the sword, the Desolation City's woman's martial attainment did not lose to anyone. The outcome of this battle was hard to predict, or it could be said that it was hard to determine the winner, unless both of them fought to the death. Ningchen, will Master's wife lose? Yinar asked nervously as she watched the battle from the side. She won't. Ningchen said calmly. Watch how your sister Qing Shui fights. You have extreme speed now, so next time, don't be flustered like just now. I know. Yinar answered in a low voice, embarrassed. In the battlefield, the intense battle continued. They exchanged several dozen zhang of blows, but there was still no clear victor. Between heaven and earth, the white figure flickered in and out of existence, moving extremely quickly. Below, on the wheelchair, Peacock's body was surrounded by 5-colored divine light. It had both offensive and defensive capabilities, and was as immovable as a mountain. After 100 moves, the 5-colored divine light appeared in front of the peacock, but it weakened in an instant. At this moment, Mu Qingshue's sword wings spread out behind his back. With a swing of his sword, tens of thousands of sword qi pierced through the air. The sword of extreme speed collided with the divine light and quickly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, the white-robed figure arrived. The tip of his sword broke through the 5-colored divine light. Just as he was about to subdue the enemy, he suddenly withdrew his sword and retreated 10 steps away. On the wheelchair, Peacock's hands paused for a moment. She looked at the woman who suddenly stopped. Her eyes narrowed. What a fast reaction. She had intentionally exposed her weakness earlier. She didn't expect that the woman before her to be able to react in time at the most crucial moment. His combat experience and reflexes were truly unparalleled. We've already exchanged 100 moves. There's no need to continue. Qing Shui, Miss Peacock, let's call it a draw. Outside the battle, Ningchen spoke. It's a tie. Hearing Ningchen's words, Mu Qingshui nodded lightly. He waved his hand and withdrew his sword, walking out of the battle. Master's wife is so powerful. Yinar ran up to Mu Qingshui with admiration written all over her face. Even Master lost to Peacock, but Master's wife was able to fight her to a draw. Doesn't that mean Master's wife is more powerful than Master? Did you see it clearly? Mu Qingshui looked at the little girl in front of him and asked. A little bit. Yinar said embarrassedly. Mu Qingshui nodded without reprimanding her. I'll teach you slowly in the future. Many thanks, Master's wife. Master's wife is the best. Yinar's face bloomed into a smile. Master's wife was the best to her. On the side, Ningchen revealed a helpless expression. He looked at Qing Ning and said, Sister Qing Ning, I'm not the one indulging this little girl. While the human race's experts were working hard to improve their martial skills in the Reverence Moon Holy Ground, in the fog of the Red Luan Star Field, the Grand Xiao's Legend Realm and the Devil Race's War God Realm's peak met. The strongest sword and the strongest spear collided in the starry sky, causing rumbling sounds and shattering meteorites one after another. 10 years of promise, the Grand Xiao's Prince Yan guarded the passage between the two realms, not allowing anyone to leave. In the Primal Devil Realm, the strongest war god went out to open a path for the Devil Realm's army, to fight against the human race's legendary swordsman. Boom! The Fire Beacon City's devil aura surged. The red and green swords were sharp and threatening. When the divine weapons clashed, heaven and earth shook. Sword sound, falling frost. After exchanging more than 100 moves, the green sword in Prince Yan's hand changed direction. With a slash of the sword, the sky was filled with drifting blue frost, freezing heaven and earth. The pinnacle of the world's sword, surpassing the one and only, close to the origin of Tao. The seemingly casual sword slashed open the starry sky, sealing heaven and earth. In the blink of an eye, the yellow springs appeared. Azura danced in the Fire Beacon City. Endless devil chi surged, and the war god's power was pushed to the peak. The two moves collided, and in the midst of earth-shattering explosions, the shockwaves around the two of them spread out in all directions. In the star domain's mist, many large stars were hit by the aftershocks, rumbling and quickly falling apart. It was a shocking scene. The battle between the two kings actually had the power to destroy heaven and earth. In the battle, after the extreme moves, the two figures approached each other again. The sword was like lightning, the spear was like a dragon, and they clashed. It was a battle of equal strength. The heavenly devil war god, a peerless expert comparable to an emperor Dao expert, was blocked by someone today. Respectable swordsman. The two's moves clashed again, and Azura retreated 10 steps. The fire beacon danced, and a huge demonic shadow appeared behind him. The evil face of Azura shook the sky. With the help of the evil face, the aura around Azura increased several times. Vaguely, the Emperor Dao aura appeared, shocking the world. The evil face appeared, and the clouds in the sky changed color. In front, Prince Yan's eyes flashed and he jumped up, swapping his swords, and used another extreme move. Sword sound, flying swan. The red sword tore through the sky, burning the sky. The flying swan sword swallowed the starry sky, frightening both humans and ghosts. Break. Azura focused and his demonic aura swept out. His spear tore through the sky, meeting the shocking sword. This was the most extreme attack. In the battle, blood splattered everywhere. Behind the Azura, the evil image collapsed. Crack! At that moment, a crisp sound was heard. Under the extreme clash, cracks appeared on both the green and red swords in Prince Yan's hands. Although the cracks were small, they were very clear. The two swords that had been with the kings for the longest time came from the top swordsmiths of the Xia dynasty. However, as time changed, they gradually couldn't keep up with the king's level. Ordinary swords don't deserve your identity as a peerless swordsman. Azura waved his hand to heal the wound on his left arm, and looked at the king in cyan in front of him. Prince Yan walked to the sword rack silently, and the green and red swords were inserted. Then he grabbed a dark yellow ancient sword and slowly pulled it out. When the heavy sword was drawn, the starry sky immediately sank, and the space froze, making it difficult to move. In the battle, Azura felt the laws of heaven and earth change around him, and his expression hardened again. Without saying a word, the king's figure appeared again, and an extremely fast and heavy sword slashed down with the force of splitting the sky, killing all demons. The heavy sword arrived, and Azura blocked it with his spear. The war god of the demon race felt his arms go numb, and he unconsciously took half a step back. Sword sound edgeless. Close at hand, Prince Yan raised his finger and pointed at the sky. A sand sword was formed silently and pierced towards the heart of the demonic cultivator. Indestructible protection. As the killing intent approached, Azura's eyes narrowed. He shouted, and the demonic aura around him formed into a demonic armor that protected his heart. Bang! The sand sword and demonic armor clashed, and a violent impact exploded. The remaining force penetrated the demon's body, and he took half a step back. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Nice! The war god was injured and the demonic nature in his heart was stimulated. Blood flashed in his eyes and the demonic spear condensed demonic aura, and he charged forward. His demonic nature exploded, and Azura only attacked without defending. His storm-like attacks completely cut off the king's retreat. Boom! The demonic spear fell, and heaven and earth collapsed. The heavy sword met it head-on, and a violent collision sounded. The king was forced back for the first time. What a shocking swordsman! Your sword seems familiar. Azura looked at the king in front of him and said, "Let me ask you, a white-haired young swordsman, what is your relationship with him?" "His sword was taught by me," Prince Yan said coldly. He clenched his left hand, and the sand in the air condensed. He slashed down, and the sand became chaotic. Bzz! The moment the sand sword slashed down, it turned into sand and covered the demon's body. Thousands of grains of sand, and thousands of sword chi. Streaks of sword chi slashed across Azura's body, and blood splattered, dyeing his armor red. After being dyed red again, there was no fear on the demon's face. The war god was fearless and his battle intent reached a peak. Ha! With a roar, a blood-colored mist spread around Azura. His eyes turned blood red, and a shocking demonic aura burst out. Blood-colored demonic chi soared into the sky, piercing through the starry sky. Seeing this, Prince Yan's eyes narrowed. He stepped forward, and his heavy sword pierced through the air, striking first to gain the initiative. Sky demon energy. Azura shouted and punched out. The starry sky between the two collapsed. The demonic aura swept out, and the king's sword was blocked, unable to get close. Abyss condensation. With the heavy sword blocked, Prince Yan's eyes flashed coldly. The two swords in his hands flew back to the sword rack. In the sky full of black light, the sealing sword reappeared. The king's sword appeared, and with a slash, the shockwave dissipated. The king's figure flashed out, arriving in front of the war god again. The king's sword with shocking divinity cut through the armor, bringing out a waterfall of dazzling blood. Azura took a few steps back, heavily injured. Go back and tell the emperors of the primordial demon realm that I will guard here for 10 years. No one can take half a step out. In front of the passageway between the two realms, Prince Yan pulled out his sword and slapped the former's chest, sending him back into the spatial passageway. In the spatial passageway, the war god of the demon race's figure gradually disappeared. He looked at the swordsman with burning battle intent in his eyes. The shocking swordsman looked forward to the moment of life and death again. In front of the passageway between the two realms, the king stood quietly. The king's sword in his hand disappeared, and the sword rack beside him floated up and down. The sword aura of the 5 divine weapons spread out, peerless and powerful. The king blocked the passageway, and all demons could not get through. Chapter 12:21. In the inner world, in the ancient land of Chongling, the aura of a king shook. The powerful pressure shook the homeland of West Buddha. Above the ancient land, the 9 cauldrons circled and suppressed the shaking of the world. Below, butterflies danced. Water sleeves turned into a sky net. Black blade lights appeared and cut the sky and sea. In the sky net, the Chongling female supreme's figure flashed and dodged wave after wave of attacks. The battle of kings shook the world. The strongest of the human race surpassed the younger generation and entered the king realm first. Dance of butterflies, peace. After 100 moves, it was hard to tell who was better. The sky net opened and the flower burial tears slashed down. Black light broke through the void. The blade light flashed and the world was calm. The female supreme focused and flipped her hand. A shocking whirlpool appeared and swallowed the blade light close to her. The 9 hell heaven devouring demon scripture appeared in the world again. Its powerful power swallowed all things. The demonic skill showed its power. Hua Zhongdia's expression turned serious. She stepped lightly and arrived in the air. The flower burial flowers split into 2. 1 black and 1 white blade slashed down at the same time. The next killing move was powerful. The female supreme moved to the side and dodged the 2 blade lights. At the same time, she used her extreme essence to counterattack. The butterfly in the flower turned its head and met the incoming attack with its saber, blocking the incoming palm power. Dance of butterflies, flower burial flowers. After a round of attack and defense, Hua Zhongdia calmed down. Her 2 blades created demonic waves. She used the 9 hell heaven devouring demon scripture and pushed her cultivation to the limit. In an instant, black flowers filled the sky. Within the black flowers, the blade light broke through the air and shocked the world. The extreme pressure caused the world to disintegrate. Wherever the blade light passed, the shadows dissipated. The terrifying scene was shocking. 9 hell heaven protection. The female supreme raised her hands. Immediately, a giant nether ghost image appeared in front of her. It bent down and blocked in front of her. Boom! The strongest attack and defense collided with each other. Terrifying shockwaves roared and surged, wildly spreading in all directions. Central Continent Knife God, you live up to your name. The female supreme stopped and looked at the woman in front of her with a smile. Hua Zhongdia waved her hand and put away the flower burial tears. She said softly, "Thank you for taking care of me these years." "You're welcome." The female supreme smiled and said, "Since you can recover, Jiming Marquis and I have something to answer to. The next time we meet, we will have more confidence. I will never forget your kindness. If there is a chance, I will repay you with my life." Hua Zhongdia bowed respectfully and said seriously. She chuckled and said, "I will get back this favor from Marquis Jiming. He owes you this." Hua Zhongdia didn't answer. She looked into the distance and a look of longing flashed across her face. Back then, when she forced him to call her senior sister, it was only a joke. Who would have thought that in the end, He would really become her most cherished junior brother. Do you miss him? The female supreme asked. Yes. Hua Zhongdia came back to her senses and nodded gently. She did not hide the longing in her heart. I really don't know what's so good about Jiming Marquis that even a woman like you can't stop thinking about him. The female supreme sighed. Really, honestly? Butterfly and Flower said softly. The female supreme nodded. She did not refute Jiming Marquis' evaluation. Although Jiming Marquis had countless masks on his face, when facing the people around him, there was no doubt that he was sincere and would not have any selfishness. The space passage between the primordial demon realm and sky beyond heaven has opened. The war will start at any time. At that time he will definitely appear. Wait patiently. The female supreme said seriously. I understand. Hua Zhongdia nodded. She missed him like a spring. 40 years she wondered how he was doing. Back then, she suffered a backlash from the 9 nether sky devouring demon scripture. Her consciousness was in a mess and she was controlled by the demon palace. Her memories were erased. When the demon palace was defeated, the female supreme brought her back to Chongling and helped her regain her consciousness. She told her the past bit by bit. She gradually found her past. Although it was not complete, her instinctive longing was so clear. Perhaps one day, she would not know him. But as long as she was herself, she would not forget this feeling of longing. Female Supreme, please come to the Heavenly Music Pavilion for a chat. At this moment, above the void, a majestic and noble voice sounded, echoing between heaven and earth. Master of the Heavenly Music Pavilion. The female supreme turned back and looked towards the north. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Is there something important? It is hard to explain. Female supreme, you will know when you come, the Heavenly Music Pavilion master said in a serious tone. Okay, I will go now. The female supreme nodded and agreed. With that, the female supreme looked at the woman beside her and said, Miss Dai, you come with us. Okay. Hua Zhongdia replied softly. The two of them immediately set off and rushed towards the far northern polar regions. In the north, snow fell all year round. There was no distinction between the 4 seasons. There was only the cold winter. In the world of ice and snow, a huge mountain peak stood between heaven and earth. Between the peaks, the Heavenly Music Pavilion, which had been passed down for thousands of years, stood tall like a celestial pavilion in the snow. On this day, outside the Heavenly Music Pavilion, 2 figures appeared. The pressure of the King realm was so shocking. In the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the Heavenly Music Pavilion master, who was dressed in a palace dress, opened her eyes. She looked at the 2 people who had come, unable to hide the seriousness in her eyes. In front of the valley, the first disciple of the Heavenly Music Pavilion, Wu Qingying, stood quietly to welcome the 2 guests. Not long after, the 2 beautiful figures walked over. In a few breaths, they had arrived in front of the valley. Greetings, Female Supreme. Wu Qingying bowed and said politely, No need to be so polite. Miss, please take us to see your master. The Female Supreme said. Yes. Wu Qingying replied softly. She turned around and led the way. In the mountain peak in the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the Heavenly Music Pavilion master sat on the main seat with a serious expression. When the 3 people entered the pavilion, she immediately stood up and said, Female Supreme, you are finally here. Pavilion Master, why are you in such a hurry? The Female Supreme asked seriously. Female Supreme, please come with me. With that, the Heavenly Music Pavilion master shone brightly and enveloped the 3 people. Then they disappeared. In an unknown space, a huge sound mill floated up and down. The sound of the great path reverberating in the Heavenly Music Pavilion could no longer be heard. This soundtrack is the most precious treasure of the Heavenly Music Pavilion. Its origin is unknown. 100 years ago, when the Netherworld King caused chaos in the world and affected the soundtrack's operation, the soundtrack has never had any problems in the past 1,000 years. However, at this point, the Heavenly Music Pavilion master's tone sank. Now that the soundtrack has stopped again, it is very likely that a great calamity will appear in the 5 regions again. Hearing this, the Female Supreme frowned slightly. Can't we get someone to push the mill? Just like what Mu Qingxue did 100 years ago. We have tried, but it is useless. The Heavenly Music Pavilion Master said in a low voice. The calamity has not passed, and the soundtrack cannot be pushed. This great calamity is probably comparable to the Netherworld King's chaos. I asked the female supreme to come here to discuss how to deal with it. Will the calamity of the primordial demon realm really affect the inner realm? The female supreme's expression darkened. This was the greatest hidden danger now. The 100 races were about to appear, indicating that the war between the humans and the 100 races would begin again. If this calamity really affected the inner realm, it would be really troublesome. Back then, the inner realm was suppressed by the Netherworld King's barrier, and the world's origin energy was incomplete. The martial path's development was extremely slow. Although there had been progress in these years, it was still far from sky beyond heaven, much less the primordial demon realm, which had many kings. If the demonic calamity affected the inner realm, the 5 regions would very likely be completely destroyed by the flames of war. The worst thing was that all the top experts of the inner realm had already left. It was unknown if they could make it back in time. Does the female supreme know the whereabouts of Marquis Jiming and the others? The Heavenly Music Pavilion Master asked. The female supreme shook her head. After the chaos of the demon palace, I brought Miss Dai back to Chongling to heal. I rarely pay attention to sky beyond heaven. Marquis Jiming has been missing for a long time. Xia Zi and the others have also left. Their whereabouts are unknown. Reverence Moon Ancient Land, Hua Zhongdia said with a serious expression. Junior brother is the high priest of the Reverence Moon clan. If the primordial demon realm and the human race start a war, the experts of the inner realm are likely to gather there. Can you ask Marquis Jiming and the others to return to the inner realm? The Heavenly Music Pavilion Master asked seriously. I'll go to Reverence Moon Ancient Land now. Hua Zhongdia nodded. I'll go with you, the female supreme said with a serious tone. In that case, I'll have to trouble the 2 of you. The Heavenly Music Pavilion Master thanked them. Pavilion Master, you're welcome. The female supreme responded. Without further delay, her figure faded away. She immediately left. Beside her, Hua Zhongdia stepped lightly and quickly followed. Looking at the 2 figures leaving, the Heavenly Music Pavilion Master's expression became more and more serious. The uneasy feeling in her heart grew stronger and stronger. She hoped that everything was not too late. At the same time, at the border of the All-Heaven Star Domain and Luojia Star Domain, the Reverence Moon Ancient Land, the Yellow Spring and Time Divine Seal sealed time and space, completely covering the traces of the Ancient Land. Inside the Ancient Land, more than 10 human experts were wholeheartedly cultivating. They were accumulating strength for the upcoming great calamity of the human race. The flames of war were about to arrive. Ning Chun and the others did not dare to be distracted for even a moment. They focused on refining their martial arts, striving to reach a higher level. Time passed day after day. Mu Qianshang, Xia Zi, and the others sparred many times to make up for their shortcomings. Their strength also rapidly improved. Among them, the person who improved the fastest was still Yin. With the heavenly language and phoenix origin in her body, Yin possessed the best innate conditions. As long as she made up for her battle experience, she would be able to contend against anyone present. Of course, it was not that easy to make up for her lack of battle experience. Under Ning Chen's arrangement, Yin had fought with almost everyone in the past several months. Every time, she would end up in a crushing defeat. As Yin was the youngest among the group, Mu Qianshang and the others would more or less hold back when fighting with her. However, the absolute gap in strength was still obvious. Master's wife. After an unknown number of crushing defeats, Yin went to find Mu Qingxue with a sullen face. She asked in an extremely bad mood. Am I really not suited for martial arts? Don't talk nonsense. Mu Qingxue softly reprimanded her. Your aptitude is definitely one of the best among us. The reason why you can't beat them is because you lack experience. Be patient. One day you will surpass us. Not far away, Ning Chen walked over. Looking at the girl who was in a bad mood, he smiled and said, What's wrong? Did you suffer another blow? Ener pursed her lips and did not answer. Aptitude is something illusory. You can't see it clearly or touch it. So you don't have to think too much. What you need to do now is to work hard. It's useless to think too much. After saying that, Ningchen pointed at Luo Xingchen, who was doing nothing not far away. He smiled and said, "Do you see that idler? If you don't work hard, you will end up like him. How embarrassing." Chapter 12:22. In the endless starry sky, two beautiful silhouettes were speeding through the galaxy, heading towards the Reverence Moon ancient ground. The starry sky was vast and boundless. The two of them walked between one star after another, and their speed was raised to the limit. They were like shooting stars that tore through the starry sky and vanished in the blink of an eye. After cultivating for several hundred years, they had lost count of the number of battles they had faced. Every time they stepped into the starry sky, they would still be shocked by the vastness of the universe. The vastness of the starry sky had always been a taboo in the hearts of cultivators. Even if a fourth-level cultivator was unfortunate enough to get lost in the starry sky, their true essence would be exhausted, and they would die. In the starry sky, Huazhongdia and the female supreme were covered in a dim light. As cultivators of the 9 serenities heaven-devouring demon scripture, their bodies were powerful enough to last them a long time in the starry sky. We should be there soon. After traveling for an unknown period of time, the female supreme looked at the stars in front of her and said, "And Huazhongdia nodded. The Reverence Moon ancient ground was located at the border between the All-Heaven Galaxy and the Luojia Galaxy. They had left the Ziwei Galaxy for a long time, and they should be able to reach the Reverence Moon ancient ground soon." Another month later, 2 figures arrived in the sky above the Reverence Moon ancient ground. They stopped in the starry sky. In front of them was a boundless starry sky. They had not seen the ancient ground for a long time, as if it had disappeared into thin air. Not good. The female supreme's face sank. The Jiming Marquis was an expert in space and time formations. If he wanted to hide the Reverence Moon ancient ground, they would not be able to find it in a short period of time. The starry sky was too vast. Even the slightest difference would take months, or even years to find it. Now that the Reverence Moon ancient ground was hidden, it was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to find it. Let's split up and find it. Whether we find it or not, we'll meet here 3 months later. Huazhongdia waved her hand, and the flower burial tears appeared. She swung her blade, and a black blade light pierced through the starry sky, splitting the nearest star into 2. "All right." The female supreme nodded, turned around and flew in a certain direction. The 2 split up and disappeared into the starry sky in a few breaths' time. At the same time, within the fog of the Red Phoenix star field, the sounds of battle shook the heavens. Indistinctly, the green-robed swordsman stood alone, fighting against the numerous kings. In the battle, wind and sand danced in the air. In the hands of the swordsman, the heavy sword had 5 edges. Every move and style had the ability to fight against the heavens. With the 2 swords in hand, the kings found it difficult to cross the heavenly barrier. The sandstorm in the sky blocked the path of the kings. No one was able to leave the 3,000 zhang radius of the passage between the 2 realms. The legendary warriors of the Xia dynasty fought one against many, taking turns to fight one after another. The goal of the kings of the primordial demon realm was very obvious. They wanted to use their advantage in numbers to exhaust the strength of the swordsman. However, after more than 10 days of battle, the kings of the 100 races were defeated batch after batch. The undefeated legends were still standing. An amazing swordsman. Among the kings, a green-haired king had been injured and had retreated from the battle. He looked at the battle in front of him, and said with a serious expression, "This is already the 10th round of battle, but this person's battle prowess is still so terrifying." A king of the Eagle clan said in a low voice, "Go back and report to the Demon Emperor that we need to send more experts here." The green-haired king said in a serious tone, "Yes." Behind him, a black figure accepted the order and disappeared into the spatial passage. A few days later, in the primordial demon realm, Heavenly Devil Imperial City, 3 Emperor's Palace, a black-robed figure appeared at the stone steps in front of the palace. He half knelt and said, Greetings, Demon Emperor. How is it? Demonic chi surged in front of the three emperors' palace. An unparalleled demonic cultivator had appeared. His incomparably terrifying aura shook the heavens and earth. Demon Emperor, the kings are still unable to break through that swordsman's defense. We need more help, the black-robed figure said in a low voice. 33 kings, taking turns to fight one after another, but they still failed? In front of the imperial palace, Demon Emperor Kuan Yi's eyes flashed coldly. No wonder Azura couldn't win against such a powerful swordsman. I'll go. At this moment, demonic chi surged in the void. A figure with a blazing aura appeared. His violent aura made people look sideways. The third prince of the heavenly devil realm, the world's #1 palm, Xianlai, had appeared. It will be difficult for you to defeat this person alone. Take 2 members of the 8 with you just in case, Demon Emperor Kuan Yi said in a low voice. Hearing this, Xianlai frowned slightly. It was already dishonorable for him to attack a swordsman who had experienced consecutive battles. If he took 2 members of the 8 with him, it would go against his dignity as a strong cultivator. The battle now involves the future of the Heavenly Devil Imperial family. We can only win, not lose. No matter what, as long as we can win, there is no need to be too calculative. Demon Emperor Kuan Yi said coldly. I understand. Xianlai replied and turned to leave. In front of the spatial passage in the Red Phoenix Star Zone, the legendary swordsman suppressed the kings with 2 swords. The wind and sand were wild. Every grain of sand contained the swordsman's attainments in the sword. In the wind and sand, the swordsman held his sword and fought against the 9 kings. He was in an invincible position. Strong, so strong that words couldn't describe it. Inside and outside the battlefield, the kings of the 100 races were shocked. No one had expected that the human race would have such a strong cultivator guarding here. Apart from Huang Dao, who else could defeat such a strong cultivator? Boom. Suddenly, in the spatial passage, an extremely powerful palm energy broke through the air. The destructive power shattered the starry sky for thousands of miles. It was shocking. In the battlefield, Prince Yan felt it. He moved and dodged the palm energy. Looking at the 3 people in front of him, he narrowed his eyes. Third prince of the heavenly devil imperial family, Xianlai. Without saying anything, Xianlai stepped forward. He pushed the demonic aura around him with his palms. A strong move shook the heavens and the earth. Prince Yan swung his sword to block the attack. With a loud boom, his right arm went numb. He took half a step back. Strong cultivator. It was the first time in many days that he had taken a step back. Prince Yan's eyes flashed coldly. The pride of a king could not be blasphemed. Stepping forward, the legendary cultivator moved. He was faster, and his sword was stronger. He slashed down. There was only one sword in the world. The heavy sword arrived. Xianlai flipped his palms and blocked the attack. There was a loud boom. The heavens and the earth shook. Xianlai took 2 steps back. He was at a disadvantage in terms of strength and foundation. Outside the battlefield, Garuda and Wuxia, the 2 powerful cultivators of the 8, looked at the battle in front of them seriously. Don't drag it out. Attack, Wuxia said. He waved his left hand and a slender azura blade appeared. He rushed out and joined the battle. Garuda's face darkened. Facing the powerful swordsman in front of him, he did not dare to hesitate. He grabbed his halberd and jumped into the battle. With the 2 powerful cultivators of the 8 joining the battle became more intense. Blade light and halberd shadows crisscrossed. They fought the strongest swordsmen of the human race together. 7 changes of the heavenly devil, Royal Sky Dome. The battle reached its climax. Xianlai shouted angrily. His demonic form appeared again. With an indomitable spirit, he punched down. In front of him, Prince Yan swung his sword and knocked away the 2 members of the 8. Looking at the giant fist falling from the sky, he stepped forward and jumped into the air. 3 swords of heaven, life and death pact. The legendary cultivator waved his hands. The red and green swords danced in the air. In an instant, the sand in the sky gathered and condensed into one. The 3 swords clashed and a huge sword vortex appeared. In the next moment, beams of terrifying sword light broke through the air and appeared in front of the 3. Shocking swords, shocking moves. 10,000 swords as the beginning and 3 as the end. They all crashed down. In the battle, the 3 demons saw the situation and used their ultimate moves. Demonic chi, and ghostly chi spread out and blocked the incoming attacks. Ugh! There was a shocking explosion. Heaven and earth were in chaos. In the battle, blood splashed out. Demonic chi and ghostly chi scattered. The 2 powerful cultivators of the 8 were injured at the same time, and retreated several steps. In the center of the battle, the aftershock hit and the huge demonic body collapsed. Xianlai's mouth was red. He was injured for the first time. An opportunity appeared. In the void, Prince Yan held 2 swords with both hands. Condensed chi and heavy swords clashed. The ultimate martial arts reappeared in the world. In an instant, red lightning spread out in the starry sky. It was as thin as a strand of hair. However, each bolt of lightning had the power to destroy the world. It was terrifying. The legendary cultivator stepped forward and disappeared. In the world of the extreme state, the red lightning flashed quickly. Boom! Before Wuxia could react, a sword light pierced through his chest. Without any warning, it pierced through his heart. Wuxia, Xianlai and Garuda were shocked. They rushed out and immediately came to his rescue. Back off. Prince Yan looked back and saw the 2 coming to his rescue. He turned back and waved his sword. With a bang, he forced the 2 of them back. In the battle, under the shocked eyes of the kings, blood kept flowing out of Wuxia's chest. Before it could fall, it was completely swallowed by the black sealing sword. I know. Before he could say anything, the words were stuck in his throat. Wuxia's eyes gradually lost color, and he fell down. He was once famous and shocked the world. However, when he woke up again, everything had changed. Wuxia was unwilling, but he did not have time to say anything. It was an unbelievable battle. 3 powerful cultivators of the king's realm joined forces, but still lost. Despair flashed in the eyes of the kings. With such a swordsman guarding the gate, who could break through half a step? Back off. Knowing that the battle was irreversible, Xianlai shouted and flashed back into the space tunnel. Garuda and the kings of the 100 tribes accepted the order, and did not stay any longer. They returned to the primordial demon realm. Clang. The kings retreated. Prince Yan waved his hand, and the ancient swords flew back to the sword rack and hid their sharpness. The invincible legendary cultivator was still invincible. He looked forward calmly without any emotions. The first year of the 10-year agreement had passed. There were still 9 years left. He hoped that in these 10 years, there would be a real powerful cultivator of the human race, who could carry the banner of the human race's revival. At the same time, in the unknown godly realm, the master of the godly realm stood quietly on the peak. His old eyes were always looking at the human world, waiting for the opportunity to come. 10 years was the limit of what they could fight for. The cultivators of the human race had to grow quickly. Otherwise, when the demonic invasion came, it would be the real doomsday of the human race. At the same time, at the border of heavens and Luojia Galaxy, after searching for many days, the female lord and Hua Zhongdia returned to the meeting place. They looked at each other and shook their heads. We can't waste any more time. Let's go back. Chapter 12:23. In the northern polar region, the Heavenly Music Pavilion Master stood in front of the soundtrack, her eyes growing more and more serious. Chaos was coming, and there was bound to be a change. The soundtrack had stopped running for a long time, indicating that this disaster would soon descend. In the middle ground, the demonic will see. The void stirred, and a demonic figure fell from the sky, smashing into the ground. The unconscious demonic figure wore dark red armor, and demonic chi flowed around him. He was powerful and familiar. The moment the spatial vortex disappeared, a black sea was reflected. It was eerie and terrifying. It was a shocking scene. The demonic wheel sea reflected the scene of the primordial demon domain's reincarnation sea. It was so clear, as if it was right in front of them. On the ground, Xianlua was covered in wounds that were so deep that his bones could be seen. Blood flowed, dyeing his armor red. When the demonic cultivator appeared in the demonic wheel sea, the Heavenly Music Pavilion Master sensed it. She looked at the middle ground with a serious expression. It's coming. Suddenly, in the demonic wheel sea, Xian Luo's eyes opened, and demonic qi surged out. An earth-shattering demonic aura rose rapidly, shocking the 5 regions. He had once wreaked havoc in the human world, and was sealed in the demonic wheel sea by the ancestors of the Taoist sect. 100 years ago, the demonic cultivator broke free, and was forced out of the inner world by the knowing destiny state. Today, the demonic cultivator had returned, and the 5 regions were in danger. Nether King's Pure Land, I'm back. Xian Luo looked at the familiar scene around him, and his expression turned cold. Knowing destiny state, Marquis, can you still protect this land this time? In the demonic wheel sea, a dark light rose, and a powerful devouring force came, constantly eroding the demonic cultivator's body. Xian Luo snorted, and demonic qi surged around him. His cultivation, which was close to the late-stage king realm, erupted, blocking the devouring force of the demonic wheel sea. With the arrival of the demonic calamity, all the inner world cultivators in the 5 regions were shocked, and their hearts trembled violently. Was the 100 years of peace going to be broken again? In the Zhao family of the Middle Ground, Zhao Liusu looked at the demonic wheel sea. After a long time, she sighed softly. This time it was her turn. In the past, she had been blinded by hatred and made an unforgivable mistake. Although she had woken up in the end, the mistake she made could not be corrected, now that the 5 regions were in danger, and the protectors had left. From now on, the Zhao Liusu. As they were about to leave, Zhao Liusu looked at the elders of the Zhao family behind her and spoke. Patriarch. A white-haired elder had a pained look on his face. He wanted to persuade him, but he didn't know what to say. Behind him, the dozen or so elders of the Zhao family also wanted to say something but hesitated. They couldn't bear to see their patriarch throw away his life. Merely the aura of that devil caused them to feel despair. During these 100 years, even though the patriarch's cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds all along the way, he'd stepped into the mortal realm, and was only a thread away from the king realm. However, that devil had undoubtedly far surpassed an ordinary king realm expert, and it wasn't an existence that could be defeated by the strength of a mortal. 100 years ago, he taught me that there are things that I should do and things that I shouldn't. Today, it's time for the Zhao clan to do something for the world. Zhao Liusu said calmly. She looked at the elders of the Zhao family behind her and said with a smile, Elders, goodbye. After she finished speaking, Zhao Liusu didn't stay any longer. She stepped lightly into the air and left. In the western part of the central state, in the demonic wheel sea, demonic qi surged like waves in the sky. Millions of commoners looked at the horizon with fear on their faces. Just at this moment, there was a vast purple light in the horizon. Zhao Liusu stepped into the air and released all her aura. For the inner realm, she had stepped onto the path of slaying the devil without hesitation. Outside the demonic wheel sea, a demon in dark red armor walked out. Everywhere his feet passed, the flames of war were everywhere. The earth couldn't bear the shocking might of this demon. It shook violently, and large cracks appeared and spread for thousands of miles. Suddenly, Xian Luo stopped and looked to the east. There was a flash of surprise in his eyes. In the eastern sky, Zhao Liusu, who was covered in blazing purple flames, quickly rushed over. She burned her lifespan and entered the divine furnace to illuminate the world. Humans are always so stupid that it's disgusting. Xian Luo's expression became cold as he clenched his right fist. In an instant, violent demonic qi surged out. Demonic clouds swept across the sky and covered the sun. Xian Luo, we meet again. In the air, Zhao Liusu stopped and looked at the familiar demonic cultivator in front of her as she said coldly, The ant from back then actually dares to provoke me. You overestimate yourself. Xian Luo stepped forward, and demonic flames soared into the sky. He punched out, shocking the world. 9 Wheels Heavenly Sword. Demonic qi arrived. Zhao Liusu clenched her right fist, and the clouds in the sky stirred. A purple sword fell from the cloud and entered her hand. Boom. Zhao Liusu didn't hesitate, and directly detonated her cultivation, and the soul power of the 9 generations of King Realm cultivators. She broke through the gap between King Realm cultivators, and took another step forward. She was determined to destroy her own foundation without any hesitation. In an instant, bloodlight soared from Zhao Liusu's body, shocking the world. The sword slashed down, and purple light shook the sky. There was a loud rumble, and a violent force spread out quickly, destroying everything in the surroundings. In the surging force, a pool of blood splashed out. Zhao Liusu took a few steps back, and blood kept flowing out of the hand holding the sword. There was a clear difference in strength. Even if Zhao Liusu detonated her cultivation and raised her combat power to the peak of her life, she still couldn't block the might of the demon. Fearless and ignorant human, only death awaits you. Xian Luo slowly rose into the air, and his fists crossed. His demonic chi rose again. The events of the world flashed through her mind, and a faint smile appeared on Zhao Liusu's lips. The purple flames around her soared into the sky, and the flame of life burned even more fiercely, illuminating the entire inner realm. Big Brother Ning, did I do the right thing this time? The 9 wheels heavenly sword soared into the sky. Zhao Liusu formed a seal with her hands, and her cultivation and source of life erupted. She used everything to condense the final move. At the same time, in the north, the Heavenly Music Pavilion Master looked at the battle in middle ground. He clenched his fists, and the anger in his heart was difficult to suppress. A moment later, the Heavenly Music Pavilion Master saw the soundtrack in front of him, and a strange look flashed across his eyes. He turned his palm over and slammed it on the soundtrack. Boom! The soundtrack was hit hard, and suddenly, a heavy sound wave spread out, spreading rapidly and affecting the entire 5 regions. The sound of the Great Tao was pure and holy. In the central state battle, the sound wave spread out, and Xian Luo, who was about to condense his demonic essence, suddenly paused. His aura was blocked, and his move was weak. At this moment, the 9 wheels heavenly sword slashed down from the sky, blazing with purple light. The sword that sacrificed Zhao Liusu's life was stunning and reflected in the eyes of everyone in the 5 regions. Crack! The human demon's final move rang out, and in the next moment, the 9 wheels heavenly sword shattered and disappeared between heaven and earth. In the aftermath, Zhao Liusu's figure flew out, and blood splattered all over the sky, dyeing the entire human realm red. Ugh! In front of him, a purple sword light pierced through the air and pierced the chest of the demon, bringing out a dazzling red color. Xian Luo took half a step back, and he looked at the wound on his chest, unable to suppress the anger in his eyes. 100 miles away, Zhao Liusu's body crashed into a mountain, and bright red blood flowed from her body. It was so stunning and so dazzling. After the stunning bloom, the flame of life was slowly extinguished, and it was so weak that it was almost undetectable. Zhao Liusu looked at the human realm covered in the flames of war, and a trace of regret flashed through her eyes. She had tried her best, but in the end, she was still unable to stop this demon. Her eyes that were unwilling to close gradually lost all their luster. Zhao Liusu was unwilling, and she watched the flames of war in the human realm, unable to die in peace. In front of the demonic wheel sea, Xian Luo's eyes were filled with anger. He reached out with his right hand, grabbing at the dead human in front of him. At this moment, in the distant starry sky, a black sword light slashed down from the sky and slashed at the demon's right hand. Xian Luo frowned and looked at the sky, and a trace of coldness flashed through his eyes. Another reckless person has come. In the next moment, 2 figures descended from the sky. When the demonic tribulation descended, Nu Chang and Hua Zhongdia rushed back, but they were still half a step too late. Liusu. In the void, Hua Zhongdia looked at the woman behind her who had died in battle, and grief flashed through her eyes. Between the mountains, Zhao Liusu seemed to have felt the former's aura, and 2 drops of blood tears flowed down silently from her eyes. Hua Zhongdia reached out and gently closed the former's eyes, and said with a sad expression, "Rest well, leave the rest to us." After that, Hua Zhongdia turned around and looked at the demon in front of her. Her eyes were filled with killing intent, and she was extremely angry. On the side, the female noble sighed softly. Zhao Liusu had followed Marquis Jiming for a period of time. Although she had taken the wrong path, it was not her own will. In the end, she woke up in time and returned to the right path. She had never thought that today, The current head of Zhao family would bravely die in battle in order to protect the inner world. This determination was moving. You and I will work together to kill this demon, Hua Zhongdia said angrily. Zhao Liusu could be considered as half of his disciple. If he came back and knew about this, he would definitely be very sad. This demon must die. Okay. The female noble nodded, and her expression became serious. She knew very well that Xianluo's strength was definitely not comparable to ordinary kings. However, if they could not stop this demon, the inner world would undoubtedly be in complete chaos. It seems that the grudges of the past can all be settled today. Looking at the female noble, Xianluo's eyes flashed coldly. In the Battle of West Buddha's homeland, this woman was one of the culprits. Today, he would deal with her once and for all. Jiewu Nether King. The battle was about to begin. Hua Zhongdia shouted angrily, and black demonic qi surged out from her body. In an instant, thousands of black demonic butterflies flew into the sky, and 2 pairs of huge butterfly wings appeared behind her back. On the side, the female noble also activated the 9 Serenities sky-devouring demon scripture. A faint brilliance rose, illuminating the demonic butterflies and killing the demon together. The battle of using demons to fight demons. Before the battle even began, the whole world had already darkened. It turns out that you can no longer be called humans. Hypocritical humans. In front of the demonic Will See, Xianluo looked at the demonic qi around the 2 of them, and his eyes flashed with mockery. Humans were always so hypocritical. They disdained to be with demons, but they were always greedy for the power of demons. They did everything possible to obtain this power that they thought was evil. In the void, the 3 kings with monstrous demonic qi faced each other. After an instant, the demonic butterflies moved, and their blood-red hair danced in the wind. The flower burial tear appeared again. The knife god of the middle state once again showed his shocking attainments in the knife. Chapter 1224. In front of the demonic wheel ocean in the central continent, a great battle was about to begin. Demonic qi filled the sky and covered the sun. The female sovereign and the butterfly in the flower used the 9 Serenities heaven-devouring demonic scripture at the same time. As the battle began, the butterfly in the flower moved. The huge butterfly wings on its back flapped, and the flower burial tears appeared again. Boom. The first move of the 2 experts caused mountains to fall. The mountains within a few thousand miles collapsed as they couldn't withstand the demonic might. Dance of the butterflies, Skynet. The sleeves danced and extended, forming an inescapable net that trapped the demonic cultivator. The overlapping sleeves didn't leave any gaps. They were like a spider web that sealed off everything within 100 feet. At the same time, the female sovereign arrived. Demonic qi gathered and slammed her palm onto the demonic cultivator's chest. Xianluo took half a step back as blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. His old injuries hadn't healed yet, and he was heavily injured by Zhao Liusu. Now that the 2 experts of the human race were working together, Xianluo was at a disadvantage. Open for me. The demonic cultivator was injured and became even crazier. Xianluo roared and the demonic qi in his body surged, shattering the sleeves around him. The skynet was broken and the blue sleeves danced in the air. The black saber broke through the air once again. The god of sabers, one of the top experts of the human race, had unparalleled attainments in the saber. One saber was heavy while the other was fast. The flower burial tears was a white saber that forced the demonic cultivator to attack. After losing the initiative, Xianluo lost the advantage of his cultivation and retreated step by step. Xianluo grunted as the white saber pierced through his left shoulder, causing blood to spurt out. Caught you! After taking this move head-on, Xianluo's demonic qi flourished. He roared furiously and used his ultimate move again. 6 ultimates of the Sky Demon, 1000 Gods Burial. The demonic cultivator counterattacked, and threw a powerful punch at the woman in front of him. When the demonic technique arrived, Butterfly in the flower gathered its vitality, and slashed down with flower burial tears. At the same time, not far away, Nu Chang rushed over. She activated her demonic technique, and poured it into the former's body. With the 2 of them working together, The 9 netherworlds heaven-devouring demon scripture was pushed to the limit. Instantly, black demonic chi surged from the flower burial tier, devouring the heavens and earth. Boom. As the demonic arts clashed, the heavens and the earth changed drastically. A terrifying shockwave spread out, and the 3 of them were all forced to retreat more than 10 steps, their bodies dyed red. I haven't seen you for 100 years, and you've actually grown so much. Xianluo forcefully suppressed the surging aura in his body. He looked at the 2 people in front of him with a solemn expression. You can't be forgiven for bringing disaster to the world. Xianluo, today is the day you die. Taking a step forward, the butterfly in the flower ignored its injuries and charged forward again. The flower burial sword shone brightly, causing the sky to change. Diawu. Suddenly, Butterfly in the flower twisted the blade in her hand, bringing up waves of wind. Countless blood-colored frost appeared out of nowhere and landed on the battlefield. Flowers bloomed in the air. One after another beautiful frost flowers bloomed. It was so beautiful that it made people's hearts tremble. Frost. As the demonic arts appeared, the frost flowers collapsed and turned into the sky burial blade. Tens of thousands of blade intents exploded, instantly engulfing the demonic cultivator in front of it. Rumble. Tens of thousands of blades landed on Xianluo's body. Blood spurted out from the wounds on his body, and blood flowed out continuously. At this moment, the female sovereign's figure appeared once more, and a powerful palm landed on Xianluo's chest. The palm landed on Xianluo's body, and he was forced to retreat again and again. The corner of his mouth was red. The 2 human experts worked together, and the king of the demonic race was at a complete disadvantage. The situation was dangerous. 6 ultimates of the sky demon, 10,000 demons devouring the heavens. The demonic cultivator was enraged. He opened his hands and a violent demonic chi surged into the sky. The ultimate move of the royal sky demon appeared once more. Roar. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of demonic figures appeared in the heavens and earth. They were endless and shocking. As the 10,000 demons appeared, they charged toward the 2 people in front of them. This demonic move was unavoidable. The demons danced wildly, sealing off all paths of retreat. In the void, Hua Zhongdia and the female sovereign looked at the 10,000 demons in front of them. They activated their demonic arts at the same time, and a huge vortex appeared around them, spreading out continuously. The 9 underworlds devour heaven. The number 1 demonic art in the human world once again displayed its shocking power. The 10,000 demons were quickly swallowed by the huge vortex without any ripples. 6 ultimate sky demon Samsara calamity. After failing in one move, Xianluo's figure rushed out. He raised the samsara with both hands, and a huge samsara avatar appeared in the void, crashing into the 2 people in front of him. Ugh! There was a muffled groan, and blood splattered. The huge black vortex around Hua Zhongdia and the female sovereign collapsed. They retreated, and blood flowed out of their mouths. After a few rounds of attack and defense, they exchanged injuries. The king of the demonic race gradually displayed a shocking combat strength. 100 steps away, Hua Zhongdia and the female sovereign stopped and forcibly stabilized themselves. In the northern polar region, in the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the Heavenly Music Pavilion master looked at the battle in the distance. Where did this demon come from? He appeared in the inner realm without any warning. Wasn't the passage between the primordial demon realm and the human world far away in the Red Phoenix star zone? If there was a spatial passage between the inner realm and the primordial demon realm, it would be troublesome. In the primordial demon realm, in the depths of the primordial demon ancestral land, Demon Emperor First Kuan looked toward the north. Confusion flashed in his eyes. Just now, there seemed to be an aura that didn't belong to this world in the direction of the Samsara Ocean. The Samsara Ocean had always been a taboo in the primordial demon realm. Even emperors didn't dare to enter. Legend had it that there was a great taboo in the Samsara Ocean, that even emperors couldn't enter. What's wrong? Not far away, the 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor slowly opened his eyes. His face was pale. Clearly, the injuries from the previous battle hadn't healed yet. There's a strange movement in the Samsara Ocean. Demon Emperor First Kuren said with a serious expression. The Samsara Ocean? Hearing this, the Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor frowned slightly. There's a great taboo there. It's best not to get involved. Demon Emperor First Kuren didn't reply. His eyes looked in the direction of the Samsara Ocean, and streams of light flashed. Now that the passage between the two realms was guarded by a peerless expert of the human race, unless he attacked personally, the primordial demon realm army wouldn't be able to break through in a short time. However, there were also emperors among the human race. Once he attacked personally, the emperors of the human race wouldn't just sit by and watch. Now wasn't the time for him to fight with the emperors of the human race. There was no need to start a conflict now. Just now, for a moment, he clearly felt an aura that didn't belong to this world in the direction of the Samsara Ocean. If the Samsara Ocean really had a passage to another realm, it would be great news for the primordial demon realm. It seemed like it was time for him to go to the Samsara Ocean personally. Inside the world in the middle continent, in front of the Samsara Ocean, the battle against the demons was getting more and more intense. The two experts of the human race worked together. The butterfly and the flower's twin sabers danced like butterflies. Their shocking attainments in the saber art pressed forward with every move. They were determined to kill the demons and eliminate a potential threat for the human race. Butterflies dance demon realm. The battle was intense, and there was no room for mercy. The demonic butterfly's slender hand slashed across the flower's tear, and a smear of blood dyed the black saber blade red. The space within 100 miles darkened, and blood rain fell. It was bone-chilling. The blood-red domain spread out endlessly. The butterfly and the rain danced, and the saber light sped up. The stunning saber showed the magnificence of the god of death. In an instant, there were 100 moves, and each saber was deadly. In the demonic zone, streaks of black saber light broke through the air, and wounds appeared on Xian Luo's body. 6 ultimates of the sky demon, star transformation. Injured, Xian Luo's demonic nature went berserk. He roared angrily and the sky demon ultimate move blasted out. The demonic move counterattacked, and its power was shocking. The butterfly and the flower's twin sabers didn't have enough time to recover, and it was affected by the demonic might, and was immediately sent flying. Not far away, Nu Chang flew past, and used the palm essence to attack. Boom! Her palm shook the heavens and the earth. Powerful demonic might blasted Xian Luo's body, and he was sent flying again. Ugh! After being injured again and again, Xian Luo's mouth was dripping blood. His already injured demonic body was showing signs of collapsing. In the fierce battle, injuries were constantly exchanged. In the battle, the 3 of them were all heavily injured, and their clothes were dyed red with blood. If I kill the 2 of you, will the knowing Ming Marquis be heartbroken? In front of the demonic we'll see. Xian Luo looked at the 2 women in front of him, and a crazy and terrifying smile appeared on his face. Demonic chi rose around him, and his demonic might became more and more shocking. 6 ultimates of the sky demon, demonic flames burning the prairie. Xian Luo stepped forward, and the royal ultimate move appeared. Endless demonic flames spread rapidly, and wherever the demonic flames passed, the earth was scorched. The extreme demonic might shook the 5 regions. All the experts watched the shocking battle in the central ground, and they were abnormally nervous. Everyone knew that the success or failure of this battle would determine the fate of the 5 regions. That demonic lord wasn't someone that could be stopped by humans. In the central ground battle, the 2 experts of the human race were engulfed in demonic aura. They were determined to eliminate the demonic lord, and their bodies were filled with courage. They had already put life and death aside, so why would they be afraid of the sky demon moving the stars? After fighting for a long time, the battle strength of the 3 had reached the peak. Gradually, the 3 figures disappeared, and only black streams of light could be seen colliding, shaking the heavens and earth. 9 underworlds devour the heavens, twilight of the gods. Forced to the limit, Butterfly and Hua and Nu Chang joined forces to use a forbidden technique. The 2 merged their techniques, and in an instant, the nether hell appeared in the human world. Endless Azura evil faces roared out. The god-slaying technique turned the human world into hell. The world of bones was so terrifying that it made people's hearts palpitate. When the nether hell appeared, Xian Luo felt his body sink, and the demonic arts in his body were severely suppressed. This is... Xian Luo looked around and his face sank. Was this nether hell? Dance of the butterflies, heavenly sin. An opportunity appeared, and Butterfly and Hua used the last of her strength. The two blades flew out of her hands and into the sky. His ultimate move had yet to appear, but a terrifying pressure had already spread out rapidly. Danger struck, and Xian Luo's body trembled violently. He didn't dare to hesitate any longer and shouted. The royal ultimate move appeared in the human world at the same time. 6 ultimates of the Sky Demon, Eternal Banishment. The royal ultimate move was used, and the void within 1,000 miles collapsed. The move broke through the void and swallowed the 2 people in front. At the same time, above the void, streaks of dazzling blade light like meteors broke through the void and descended endlessly into the human world. Boom. The final move collided, and a terrifying aftershock burst out. In the battlefield, the 3 people were all sent flying. Before they could stabilize their bodies, they were swallowed by the crazily swirling spatial turbulence. The final move was to destroy everything. After the crazy aftershock, the world gradually returned to normal. In the battlefield, the 3 figures had all disappeared, and as far as the eyes could see, there was only a bleak red remnant on the ground. Chapter 1225. In the primordial demon realm, the reincarnation ocean. The water churned, and a huge whirlpool spread out for thousands of miles, swallowing everything around it. The reincarnation ocean was one of the most terrifying forbidden lands in the primordial demon realm. Very few people dared to step into it, even emperors. It was an ominous place with danger everywhere. Almost no one who entered could walk out. Gradually, no one was willing to go near the reincarnation ocean. On this day, demonic chi surged above the reincarnation ocean. A peerless demonic figure descended from the sky, and an extremely powerful aura spread out. The entire ocean started to churn violently. The number 1 demon emperor of the primordial demon realm had descended. Huge waves surged out of the ocean, and the scene was shocking. In the sky, Demon Emperor Kuren looked down at the reincarnation ocean. He raised his right hand, and the ocean within thousands of miles split, forming 2 huge waterfalls. His demonic aura could shake heaven and earth. Every move he made could split mountains and seas. The strongest demonic cultivators could go anywhere in the world. Even the infamous reincarnation sea couldn't stop the path of a demonic immortal cultivator. The surface of the ocean split, and Demon Emperor Kuren descended slowly, walking toward the reincarnation ocean. The light below the ocean gradually dimmed, and one could not see more than 10 feet. After a few breaths, Demon Emperor Kuren's figure descended. He did not stop for a moment and kept sinking. The number 1 Demon Dao Emperor had personally appeared to investigate the reincarnation ocean. The secret hidden in the deepest part of the ocean would be revealed today. Huge creatures could be seen everywhere in the ocean. They were of different races, and their forms were also different. There were hundreds of races on land and thousands of races in the ocean. Compared to the hundreds of races on the 5 continents, the world below the ocean was the true living world. There were many intelligent creatures. However, although the number of intelligent creatures below the ocean was shocking, their evolution was far inferior to the continent. Apart from a few huge sea monsters, most of the creatures in the ocean were far inferior to the hundreds of races on land in terms of intelligence and strength. Today, the Demon Dao Emperor, who stood at the peak of the hundreds of races, had descended. Thousands of intelligent creatures below the ocean all trembled. Some huge beasts were unwilling to be suppressed. They suppressed the fear in their hearts and roared at the sky. Noisy! Demon Emperor Kuren shouted coldly between the 2 opposing currents. His demonic aura erupted, and endless demonic chi surged out, shaking the entire underwater world. Boom! Demonic might swept out. Within the world of the sea, countless marine life forms exploded. Their blood mixed into the sea and dyed the sea red. A world-shocking demonic might shook the world. The corpse of the 10,000 Zhonglong giant beast sank to the bottom of the sea, and was swallowed up by reincarnation. At the bottom of the ocean, it was a scene of darkness. Huge black whirlpools were churning, so deep that the bottom could not be seen. Above the black whirlpool, first Demon Emperor Kuan stopped and frowned as he looked down at the rapidly churning whirlpool. With a flip of his palm, chaos energy surged out like a tidal wave. With a single slap, the entire ocean exploded. The bottom of the ocean changed drastically. Huge waves surged into the sky above the ocean. Layers upon layers of raging waves soared into the sky and swept across the 9 heavens. Below the sea, the demonic palm smashed into the maelstrom at the bottom of the sea. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out, shaking the heavens and the earth. A terrifying demonic aura erupted, and the shockwave spread out rapidly. Boom boom! The might of this palm caused numerous volcanoes to erupt at the bottom of the sea. Magma gushed out, forming a scene of doomsday. In the world of fire, first Demon Emperor Kuan looked down. After a while he moved and flew into the maelstrom. Just as first Demon Emperor Kuan entered the reincarnation ocean, in the unknown immortal realm in the sky beyond heaven, a withered old man's body suddenly shook, and his eyes turned serious. This aura belonged to an Emperor Tao Supreme of the primordial demon realm, Venerable Changsheng. The old man spoke and sent a voice transmission. The aura of a demon emperor has appeared in the human world. Have you sensed it? Outside the endless starry sky, on a bustling planet, a fortune teller nodded lightly and said with a serious expression, I have sensed it. It's coming from the Ziwei star zone. Old friend, you should go there. In the immortal realm, the old man said solemnly. Okay. Far away in the endless starry sky, the fortune teller nodded and looked at the woman in front of him. He smiled and said, Benefactor, although fate is determined by heaven, you have to fight for good karma. I still have some things to do, so I'll take my leave first. With that, the fortune teller picked up a long staff beside him and walked away. Under the woman's confused gaze, the fortune teller's figure gradually disappeared into the distance. In the starry sky, the fortune teller walked out and headed toward the Ziwei star zone. The 2 Emperor Tao Supreme Realm experts moved at the same time. The battle had yet to begin, but the game had already begun. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. In the Reverence Moon ancient land, in front of a vast altar, human experts sat cross-legged. Auras surged around them as they focused on cultivating. Around them, millions of Reverence Moon ancient races people prayed quietly, praying for the human race. The power of faith continued to gather, turning into moonlight that sprinkled down on the human world. It was so holy and so dazzling. On the altar in the center, Knowing Destiny sat cross-legged, using his body as a medium to convert moonlight energy to the human experts. In these 3 years, the human experts did not dare to relax for even a moment. They cultivated day and night, trying their best to increase their strength. Another 3 months later, the sky suddenly changed. In the sky above them, a giant flying dragon serpent appeared, roaring and shaking the heavens. On the altar, Knowing Destiny opened his eyes and looked at the shocking phenomenon in the sky with a serious expression. King Qi was about to break through. In front of the altar among the human experts, Lin Yuzhen stood up. She looked at the crowd and said, Everyone, I'll be leaving first. Congratulations. Mu Qianshang and the others opened their eyes one after another, congratulating sincerely. The King realm could be said to be one of the most important realms among the 4 realms. As long as one stepped into the King realm, they would have the chance to glimpse the origin of the great Tao and break through to the Supreme Emperor Tao realm. The King realm's heavenly tribulation was imminent. Lin Yuzhen did not delay any longer. She took a step forward and flew up into the sky. After King Qi left, the human experts closed their eyes again and focused on cultivating. In the air above the altar, within the pure and holy moonlight, an illusory and noble figure appeared. He looked at the human powerhouses in front of him and said in a soft voice, High Priest, these friends of yours have astonishing talent. The Deep King's Pure Land is truly a holy land filled with outstanding heroes. Below, Ningchen shook his head gently and said, It's not the inner realm that is filled with outstanding talents, but the survival of the fittest. The law of survival of the fittest is even more obvious in the inner realm. These people who have survived the Great Tribulation can be said to be the most outstanding geniuses in the inner realm. They are the strongest and the hope of this era. Survival of the fittest. In the void, Moon Goddess murmured softly. This description was really appropriate. Whether it was the human race or the gods, it was the same. High Priest, a part of your soul is still sleeping in that little girl's body. If you can't take it back, it will be difficult for your cultivation to improve. You must be mentally prepared, Moon Goddess reminded him. I understand. Ningchen nodded and said calmly, the cauldron and the phoenix's origin have long merged into one. However, Inar's body still needs the phoenix's origin to repair. I can't take it back in a short period of time. What a pity. Moon Goddess sighed softly. That little girl was obviously unable to use the power of the phoenix to its fullest. In the future, when the human race faced a great calamity, losing the help of the phoenix's power would undoubtedly be a great loss. You spent 10 years to help these people reach the king realm, but you yourself can't improve. Don't you feel indignant? Moon Goddess asked softly. In the future, the human race will need their power. Ningchen looked at the people in front of him and replied, no matter how strong a person is, there will always be a limit. I deeply understood this principle when the Nether King descended. In order to fight against the primal demon realm, they must reach the king realm as soon as possible. Moon Goddess sighed softly and didn't say much. Sacrificing oneself for others was easier said than done. Everyone had selfish motives. To be willing to waste 10 years to make a wedding dress for others, this kind of behavior was extremely stupid in the eyes of many. However, perhaps it was because of this reason that these strong cultivators of the human race were willing to gather here. On the altar, Ningchen closed his eyes again, and continued to absorb the power of the moon between heaven and earth. He turned it into the most original spiritual chi of heaven and earth and poured it into the strong cultivators of the human race in front of him. At the same time, in the Red Phoenix Galaxy, the sounds of battle continued. The kings stood guard and stopped the kings of the primal demon realm from coming out. The promise of 10 years couldn't be shaken. The legendary figure of the Great Xia displayed shocking strength. In 3 years, the kings of the 100 races couldn't take half a step forward. In the ancestral land of the heavenly demons, a person sat cross-legged with the heart-burning demon sword on his knees. The strongest swordsman of the primal demon realm couldn't hide his fighting spirit. 3 days later, Xianqi stood up and walked out of the ancestral land of the heavenly demons. Xianqi, what are you doing? In the depths of the ancestral land, the 7 luminaries demon emperor opened his eyes and said in a deep voice, sparring with the sword. Xianqi said indifferently, even Azura couldn't defeat this person. Even if you fight, what can you do? This person's combat strength isn't any weaker than Jiuyo's in the past. The 7 luminaries demon emperor said in a deep voice. So what? Xianqi said coldly. If we don't fight, how will we know the result? Your sword is too pure. This is a war between 2 realms. It's not the time for you to spar with the sword. The 7 luminaries demon emperor said in a deep voice. No one can stop what I want to do. Xianqi said coldly. Xianqi said coldly. He didn't say anything else and walked forward. A few days later, in the Red Luan Star Zone, a powerful sword pressure appeared in the spatial tunnel. The person didn't show up, but the sword intent shook the world. In front of the spatial tunnel between 2 realms, the kings of the 100 races were stunned. This sword intent belonged to the 4th prince of the heavenly demons, Xianqi. In the center of the battlefield, Prince Yan pushed back the 7 kings in front of him. His eyes flashed with surprise. Pure sword intent. After waiting for so long, a true expert had finally appeared. In the next moment, a purple-robed demonic cultivator stepped out of the spatial tunnel. He held the heart-burning demon sword in his hand. Demonic flames rose from his body. It was a shocking sight. All of you back off. Xianqi appeared and glanced at the kings inside and outside the battlefield. He said coldly. Hearing this, the kings all stopped breathing. However, no one dared to disobey Xianqi's order, and left the battlefield. Chapter 1226. In the deepest part of the Sea of Reincarnation in the primordial demon realm, the first demon emperor walked in personally to check out the situation. There was no light in the dark world, and it was filled with a terrifying devouring force. Nothing could fly out of it, including light. The black hole formed by stars was buried under the sea of reincarnation, turning into a forbidden land. In the black hole, the first demon emperor released his divine sense, but he felt a strong tearing sensation. His divine sense felt a stabbing pain, and it showed signs of leaving his body. What a strange realm. The first demon emperor frowned. How could there be such a terrifying place in the primordial demon realm? The space here was at least 1,000,000 times denser than in the primordial demon realm. Logically speaking, with such a realm, the primordial demon realm should have been devoured long ago and couldn't exist until now. Thinking of this, the first demon emperor continued to spread his divine sense. While guarding his mind, he tried his best to check the limits of the black hole. 50 miles, 500 miles, 10,000 miles. The emperor's divine sense kept spreading, and the tearing force in the space became more and more terrifying. Even the strongest person in the primordial demon realm gradually felt a bit of strain. Just as the first demon emperor entered the sea of reincarnation, Venerable Longevity walked over in the Ziwei galaxy with a long staff in his hand. He walked in the starry sky, and his speed was unbelievable. On the peak of the god realm, an old figure stood quietly. He looked at the human world with a serious expression. "Old friend, did you notice anything?" the old man asked in a deep voice. "Not yet." The fortune teller shook his head and said seriously, "That aura appeared for too short a time. I can't sense its exact location, but I'm sure it's in the Ziwei galaxy. This is a serious matter." "Thank you, old friend," the old man said in a serious tone. "I'll do my best." The fortune teller nodded. He looked at the stars in the galaxy and narrowed his eyes. There were so many stars. He would have to check them one by one. The human race still needed time to recuperate. The kings and emperors of the primordial demon realm couldn't come out so soon. There was no time to waste. The fortune teller's figure flashed, and he flew toward the nearest star. Just as the human and primordial demon realm emperors were searching for the second space tunnel, in the Red Phoenix galaxy, two kings looked at each other. Their battle intent was blazing. Before the battle even began, sword intent swept through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. In the human realm and the demon realm, the two strongest swordsmen in the world met for the first time. The two swords clashed, and a great battle was about to break out. "Please." As soon as he finished speaking, he put his fingers together mysteriously and soared his sword. In the blink of an eye, his purple clothes moved and the demonic sword moved. The great battle began. The number one person on the primordial demon realm's sword once again displayed his world-shocking sword art. A sword cut through the starry sky, and demonic flames filled the sky. The heart-burning demon sword was one of the top 3 legendary swords in the primordial demon realm. After being reforged, it was even more powerful than before. Clang! The two swords clashed, and sword chi scattered in all directions. The two kings started their battle, and the flames of war filled the sky. The demonic sword was swift and fierce, unparalleled in the world. The heavy sword had no peak, great craftsmanship without work. The two famed swords of the present age clashed. One was fast, the other was heavy. More importantly, the hearts of the strong verified each other. The pinnacle of martial arts, returning to one's natural state. The pinnacle of swordsmanship, speed, accuracy, and concentration. The quick swords clashed, and the momentum was as heavy as a mountain. The two people who stood at the peak of the sword realm pushed their attainments in the sword to the limit, and all things paled in comparison. After 100 moves, it was hard to determine the winner. In the starry sky, thousands of stars lost their color. Only the sword shone in the world. Heart-burning, thousand-flowing fire. The battle reached its climax. Xianqi held his sword horizontally, and demonic flames filled the sky. Endless black flames broke through the sky, burning everything. In front of him, beams of demonic flames attacked. Prince Yan focused and clenched his left hand. A sand sword formed, and as the sword slashed out, a sand waterfall rushed into the sky. The two swords clashed again, and the sand waterfall blocked the demonic flames. One after another, it was hard to determine the winner. With such attainments, you shouldn't have fallen into the demonic path. After 100 moves, Prince Yan looked at the number 1 sword of the demonic path, and said calmly, The sword aura was clear and untainted. Such a sword shouldn't have become a killing weapon for the ambitious. Human Tao and demonic Tao are just the judgment of the world. I don't care. Xianqi replied coldly. He stepped forward and tried to get close to him again. With a clang, the two swords clashed, and the demonic sword's aura became even stronger. Feeling a slight numbness in his right arm, Prince Yan frowned slightly. The sand sword formed in his left hand again, and he slashed out, breaking the battle. To show my respect, I won't hold back anymore. With that, the two swords left Prince Yan's hands and turned into flowing light, entering the sword rack not far away. The king's sword was about to be drawn and the sky shook. Endless black light spread out, swallowing the starry sky. When the abyss condensation appeared, its divine might shocked the heavens. When the king's sword brilliance appeared, the heavens and earth shook violently, and the pressure of the entire battle became heavy. In front of the passage between the two realms, Xianqi's expression became serious. His right hand clenched the demonic sword, and his demonic aura was pushed to the limit. Heart-burning, Song of the Dead. Pushing it to the limit, Xianqi's sword rotated, and the spirits of hell played a sword song. The Song of the Dead echoed between the sky and the earth. The heart-burning demonic sword displayed its most shocking power. A move that had never been seen before was shocking. Outside the battle, the kings of the 100 races felt an inexplicable fear. They didn't dare to hesitate and immediately retreated. In the battle, the two kings showed their sharpness. The strongest sword shook the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The sword song devoured the heart, and the sound was soul-snatching. In the starry sky, the stars collapsed one after another, unable to bear the shocking demonic power. The moment the Song of the Dead spirit was played, Xianqi moved. The heart-burning demonic sword's radiance rushed to the 9 heavens, and the demonic power overturned the sky and the earth. The demonic sword was pressing down, and Prince Yan's sword intent rose rapidly. The abyss condensed in his hand, and the sword light spread out rapidly. One sword forbidding martial arts, no Tao in the world. The forbidding martial arts move appeared in the world again. The abyss condensed was waved, and the black light swallowed the sky and the earth. The entire battle instantly turned into endless nothingness. The spirits of the dead were silent, and the 10,000 techniques withered. A dazzling waterfall of blood splashed out. A deep sword wound appeared on Xianqi's chest, and the blood flowed down, dyeing his purple battle clothes red. The sword felt half a move, and the outcome was decided. Xianqi retreated a few steps, and spat out a mouthful of blood. The aura around him quickly dispersed. He lost, the swordsman lost the sword, and everything disappeared. Ha ha ha. Xianqi chuckled. Gradually his laughter became louder and crazier. The violent sword aura surged. In the starry sky, beams of sword chi broke through the air without any pattern, and the power was shocking. Ugh! Outside the battle, the kings of the 100 races were affected one after another. Finally, the 3 kings couldn't bear the terrifying demonic power and exploded. Before the bloody bones in the sky could scatter, they were swallowed by the surging demonic chi, and completely disappeared. In front of the passage between the 2 realms, the purple-clothed demonic cultivator's black hair turned blood red. The forbidden demonic path Wuxia alone. Is it worth it to give up yourself to obtain this power? Seeing this, Prince Yan frowned and said, I only have one sword. In order to prove the way of the sword, he entered Wuxia. The demonic chi around Xianqi gradually turned red, and the heavy and cold aura made people tremble. The demonic cultivator who had transformed into Wuxia had imperial might looming around him. Half of his body entered the imperial path, and the wind and clouds changed. His body moved, and his sword moved. The blood-red demonic flames burned the stars, and day and night reversed. Boom! The king's sword and the demonic sword clashed again, and an earth-shattering sound was heard. The king took half a step back. Blood dripped down from Prince Yan's right hand silently, and it merged with the king's sword and disappeared. They looked into each other's eyes. One was cold, and the other was calm. The king's sword competition had started a new chapter. Your sword is no longer pure. Disappointment flashed across Prince Yan's eyes. Although the power exchanged with the forbidden technique was powerful, it also blinded the swordsman's sword heart. What a pity! The demonic heart was covered in dust, and the sword competition was meaningless. Prince Yen sighed softly, and his figure flashed to the side of the sword rack. Since they couldn't compete in the sword competition, then it was time for him to fulfill his promise. The king held the sword, and the broken stone sword was slowly pulled out. In an instant, the starry sky changed color, and the terrifying immortal aura shocked all the major galaxies. For 100 years, the king used his blood to nourish the sword, and the immortal slaying sword gradually recovered. Vaguely, one could see the power of an ancient ferocious sword. Crack! With the immortal sword in hand, the crown on the king's head shattered. His black hair danced in the wind, and thunder surged around him. He was like an ancient immortal emperor, and his power was inviolable. The king pulled out the immortal sword, and murderous intent surrounded him. At this moment, he wasn't competing in the sword competition, but in killing demons. Outside the battlefield, the kings of the 100 races felt it, and their pupils contracted. This was the first time the human swordsman had shown such a terrifying murderous intent. Could it be that this person hadn't used his full power in the past 3 years? The legendary swordsman who was filled with murderous intent flashed out, and with a swift slash, he killed the demons and the kings in front of him. In front of the kings, coldness flashed across Xuanqi's eyes. The demonic sword met the immortal sword head-on. Boom! As the immortal sword and the immortal slaying sword clashed, the murderous intent exploded, and the demons in front of them were sent flying. Outside the battlefield, the kings couldn't withstand the immortal aura, and their bodies exploded one after another. Blood splattered everywhere, and the starry sky was dyed red. Retreat! At this moment, a majestic voice sounded in the primordial demon realm. The next moment, imperial might filled the air, and a destructive palm force traveled through time and space, sweeping out from the passage between the two realms. The emperor attacked with earth-shattering power. After the palm, a giant black hand appeared out of nowhere in the space passage, grabbing Xuanqi and returning to the primordial demon realm. Outside the battlefield, the remaining kings of the 100 races retreated into the space passage one after another, disappearing. In the starry sky, the emperor's path palm force passed by, and the indescribable power shook the stars within 1,000,000 miles. Prince Yan's eyes narrowed, and he clenched his left hand, and the king's sword appeared again. The two swords clashed, and the aura of the sword shot into the sky. The king's sword and the immortal sword worked together, and the two swords hummed together, and the extreme path of the sword was pushed to the peak. In an instant, the emperor's path palm force arrived, and the two swords met it head-on. With a boom, the world tilted, and the kings took 3 steps back. The two swords were dyed red, and they blocked the earth-shattering palm. In front of the passage between the two realms, blood and bones flew everywhere, and the souls of the dead never returned to their hometowns. The war between the two realms hadn't started, but casualties had already begun. The two swords in Prince Yan's hands disappeared, and the immortal swords sank into the sword rack, hiding their sharpness. The invincible kings were still standing, and the primordial demon realm lost another round. Chapter 1227. In the space beyond heavens, at the border between the All-Heaven Starfield and Luajia Starfield, the Reverence Moon Ancient Land. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. In front of the altar, the human experts left one after another. With the help of the moon god and Ji Ming, Xia Zi and the others' cultivation improved by leaps and bounds, reaching the King Realm barrier. They were only half a step away from entering the King Realm. In the sky above the Reverence Moon Ancient Land, dark clouds rolled as the King Realm tribulations appeared one after another. Every time, a human expert would stand up and leave to face the tribulation in the depths of space to avoid harming the innocent. In these 5 years, almost half of the human experts had left the Reverence Moon Ancient Land, heading to the depths of space. On the altar, the moonlight around Ji Ming shone like a blazing sun as he absorbed the moonlight's energy. Through the divine tree's origin energy, he converted the energy into pure heaven and earth's origin energy, and infused it into the human experts' bodies. In the void, The moon god's figure floated up and down. The moon god, who had transcended her realm, looked at the human experts and quietly did her best. The gap between the moon god's realm and the human realm was too great. It was not something that could be measured by distance. She could only do her best. She couldn't bear to refuse the high priest's request. The human experts had been cultivating day and night to resist the invasion of the primal demon realm. As the moon god, she should do her part. Under the moonlight, the moon god sighed softly. She raised her slender fingers, and the bright moonlight gathered in the sky like a torrent, entering Ji Ming's body. With the moon god's help, the moonlight around Ningchen grew brighter, illuminating the entire Reverence Moon ancient land. Not far away, on the wheelchair, Peacock looked at the Ji Ming Marquis, who had been meditating for 5 years. A trace of surprise flashed across her beautiful eyes. Now she could understand why the Ji Ming Marquis was able to gather so many people. 5 years, how many people in this world were willing to make such a sacrifice? Boom! Right at this moment, thunder rumbled in the sky. Below, an incomparably powerful King Realm expert soared into the sky, shaking heaven and earth. Congratulations! Not far away, the human experts opened their eyes and congratulated. Many thanks. Mu Qingxue stood up and glanced at the white-clothed figure on the altar. He said calmly, "I'm leaving. Be careful." On the altar, Ningchen opened his eyes and instructed in a light voice. "Yes." Mu Qingxue nodded and did not stay any longer. He took a step forward and left. On the altar, Ningchen slowly closed his eyes, collected his thoughts, and did his best to help the remaining human clan experts cultivate. At the same time, in the depths of the reincarnation sea, inside the black hole, the first Kuan demon emperor stood in the air. He released his divine sense and constantly searched for possible exits. Within the black hole, space-time collapsed, and the concept of time no longer existed. Several years passed in the outside world, but the people within the black hole did not feel anything. Inside the black hole, First Demon Emperor Kuan guarded his mind and moved forward step by step. Even the black hole of the stars could not stop a demonic cultivator, who surpassed the heavens and earth. Drink. After walking for an unknown period of time, the first Kuan Demon Emperor stopped in his tracks again. With a deep roar, he unleashed all his cultivation and activated his demonic arts. Unparalleled demonic might, boundless and endless. This unparalleled demonic cultivator, who surpassed the heavens and earth, wanted to use his own peerless cultivation to forcibly break open the black hole. The demonic cultivators were enraged and the deities were terrified. At this moment, the entire ocean outside the reincarnation sea began to shake violently. Huge waves surged into the sky and swept out for thousands of feet. Everyone in the primordial demon realm was shocked. They looked in the direction of the sea of reincarnation, and fear flashed across their faces. Only the #1 sovereign of the celestial devil imperial family could have such terrifying demonic might. Why did first Kuan Demon Emperor want to enter the sea of reincarnation? Did he discover some secret? Just as the sea of reincarnation was moving, in the heavens beyond heaven, on a primitive planet in the Ziwei galaxy, a fortune teller's body trembled slightly as he looked into the distance. Sovereign Dao Aura. The Sovereign Dao Aura reappeared, and it was so clear that the fortune teller did not dare to hesitate. He stepped into the starry sky and quickly rushed in the direction of the Sovereign Dao Aura. In the inner world, in the Netherworld King's pure land, the demonic will sea shook. Traces of Sovereign Dao Aura spread out, shocking the mortal world. This is... On the 5 regions' continents, many martial arts experts trembled subconsciously as endless fear rose in their hearts. What a terrifying aura! Could it be that the Netherworld King has returned? In the eastern region's divine prefecture, the Great Xia, the northern Ming imperial court, and the barbarian dynasty, all the survivors from 100 years ago looked in the direction of the central region. Their hearts grew heavier and heavier. The calamity had arrived once again. In the northern polar region, in the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the Heavenly Music Pavilion master walked out with a heavy expression. What was supposed to come had come. In the demonic will see, in the middle state demonic will see, in the black hole that connected the 2 realms, the #1 person of the demonic realm stood in the air. Demonic might roared and surged, rapidly spreading in all directions. The immortal lord of the demonic realm, who had survived since the ancient era, displayed supreme power. Demonic chi surged, gradually filling the entire black hole. The strongest demonic realm cultivator fought against the black hole that could devour everything alone. It was an earth-shattering scene. The black hole started to shake, and at the weakest point of the three realms, traces of cracks appeared, and demonic chi surged out. Found it. Suddenly, First Kuan Demon Emperor turned around and looked into the distance. A trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. The aura of the alien realm. The sea of reincarnation was indeed connected to the other realms. Unfortunately, it was not easy for him to travel back and forth, not to mention the army of the 100 races and the various kings. However, it was still a rare harvest if it could be used. Thinking of this, First Kuan Demon Emperor gradually withdrew his aura and walked back the way he came. In the Ziwei Galaxy, the fortune teller stopped. The demonic chi that he had locked onto disappeared again, and his expression sank. Not good. He was about to find the source of the demonic chi. He was just a few minutes away. The galaxy was vast. If he could not lock onto the source of the demonic chi, it would not be easy to find the source of the disaster. A few months later, demonic chi surged in the heavenly demon ancestral land. First Kuan Demon Emperor walked out and returned to his ancestral land. Not far away, the Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor, who was healing himself, opened his eyes and said, "Brother, did you find anything?" The second spatial tunnel. First Kuan Demon Emperor did not hide anything. He said seriously, "The primordial demon realm and sky beyond are connected by a strange black hole. I can sense the aura of the human world at the end of the black hole. It must be sky beyond." Oh, hearing this, the Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor was surprised. He said, "Really? The Sea of Reincarnation has existed for so long. Why hasn't anyone discovered this before?" "It's not strange," First Kuan Demon Emperor said calmly. "The space in the Sea of Reincarnation is extremely dense. Even I can't enter and exit freely. Once someone enters, there is almost no chance of survival. If what you said is true, the army of the primordial demon realm can't enter sky beyond through this place," the Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor said in a deep voice. "Yes." First Kuan Demon Emperor nodded and said calmly, "The army can't enter, but you and I can. If necessary, this might be an opportunity to turn the tide of the battle." The Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor frowned and said, "The strength of the human race is far inferior to that of the primordial demon realm. As long as an Emperor Dao supremacy can defeat that swordsman, my heavenly demon army can invade sky beyond at any time. I'm afraid this place won't be of much use." The human race isn't as simple as you think. First Kuan Demon Emperor's eyes were filled with reminiscence. He said, "In the ancient war, the primordial demon realm thought that victory was within our grasp. Unexpectedly, the lord of the eastern celestial realm, who stood at the peak of the human race, turned the tide of the battle by himself. I still remember how powerless the other 9 heavenly demon emperors were when they died in battle. That kind of overwhelming strength was truly despairing. In the ancient times, the 10 heavenly demon emperors of the heavenly demon imperial clan were in their prime. His strength was ranked at the bottom of the 10 heavenly demon emperors. Even with such great strength, he was still unable to withstand a single blow from the lord of the eastern celestial realm. That supreme expert of the human race had already surpassed his knowledge. Not far away, the Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor's expression turned solemn. During the ancient war, he hadn't reached the Emperor Dao yet, so he didn't know much about these things. The human race is a race that's good at enduring. No one knows what kind of shocking power they'll unleash until they're pushed to the limit. First Kuan Demon Emperor continued, "Therefore, in the future battle, our realm must completely crush the human race and not give them any chance to counterattack." Are the human race really as powerful as you say? Now that the 4 immortal realms have disappeared, and the lords of the 4 immortal realms have all fallen, who else in the human race can resist our primordial demon realm army? Seven Brilliance Demon Emperor said grimly. Before the swordsman in front of the spatial tunnel made his move, Did we ever think that the human race would have such a peerless genius? First Koan Demon Emperor said grimly. He might not be a threat to us now, but what if he's given some time to grow? Speaking of this, First Koan Demon Emperor looked at the eastern horizon and sighed softly. There will always be true geniuses in the human race regardless of the era. You haven't forgotten why our primordial demon realm suffered such a great loss, have you? 13th Son. 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor's expression turned cold. He said, I admit that this kid is indeed extraordinary, but now that his identity has been exposed, he won't be able to cause any more trouble. A swordsman and a 13th son have already brought so much trouble to our primordial demon realm. Is there someone even stronger behind them? 7 Brilliance, don't be careless. Even a lion will use its full strength to catch a rabbit. Not to mention that we're about to face the human race who once defeated our realm. First Koran Demon Emperor said grimly. I will keep your words in mind. 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor nodded and replied calmly. The war was about to begin, and the undercurrents were surging. Whether it was the human race or the primordial demon realm, the atmosphere became heavy, suffocating to the point of suffocation. Deep in the starry sky, thunderclouds filled the sky, and rumbling sounds echoed across the entire star field. The human race's experts were trying their best to break through the sovereign Tao, accumulating strength for the upcoming war. The human race had been weak for a long time, and the future war would determine the survival of the entire human race. No one was exempt from it. Without the lips, the teeth would feel the cold. The human race's experts were well aware of the immutable truth. Therefore, they focused on their cultivation day after day. The number of figures sitting cross-legged in front of the Reverence Moon Ancient Lands altar gradually decreased. Almost 10 years had passed. Finally, when the appointed day arrived, the last person standing in front of the altar stood up and left, rushing to the depths of the starry sky. You're tuning in to the Lime's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.